Egg. 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 Egg.
What? Look at all these. Hey!
Hi!
Greetings!
Ah, greetings, my friend. Hello.
Egg.
How you doing?
Hey,
I mean, we spoke already.
It's me, Melony Pepong.
It's Melony Pepon. And it's me, Zoe Gauntlet
Battery!
Queen, which does ow. My head.
What?
I got a carburetor dumped on me, don't worry about it.
Okay.
45 minutes Splatoon update? Oh, that's scary. Okay, I had like a 1 second update. Anyway, hi everyone! Hi! Yay!
Hello, hello!
Hello, hello, hello! You were already live, so you've probably already been explaining to chat what we're gonna be doing. Your chat updates.
Egg.
Not really. So yeah, we're playing Splatoon 3.
Yeah!
You can play with us.
Yeah! We're just gonna hang out.
Neither of us remembers exactly how it works.
Yeah, that's probably fine, right?
Yeah. So wait. Okay.
Okay. Yippee!
I'm going into the lobby.
Uh-huh. I'm still starting up the game.
Okay.
No, you absolutely go into the lobby though. How do I? How does this work again? Why isn't this?
Egg.
Sorry, we had some we had a series of
Wait.
mishaps while setting up the stream chat, so that's why, particularly on my end.
Are we Switch friends?
Oh, we might not be. I don't think we've ever played Splatoon together before.
I think we need to add ourselves as Switch friends. Here, wait. Okay, my chat, I'm turning off the thing just so you can't see my super secret Switch friend code.
Yes, me too, me too. Oh. Let's see.
Very prepared.
Oh, I need to do other things also. Man, so much things that have to be done all the fucking time when you're doing a Splatoon.
Yeah. Okay,
Such a
the
commitment.
add friends.
I have to untangle earbuds. How do you listen to
your
this
friend
Splatoon
found.
audio while also on stream?
Do you have an Elgato? Is that how you do it?
It's not an Elgato. I have a
Egg.
different capture
But
card.
if it's something like similar like that, in OBS I set it to monitor, in the advanced audio settings.
Don't you have like a delay though? Does Elgato just not have like a video delay? Okay, there we go. Hop. Okay. Melony, you still there? Melony? Girl, hello?
Oh,
There you are.
sorry, the babies dropped my cell phone onto my foot switch that mutes me.
That's funny.
There's-
I was like, why are you so quiet all of a sudden?
yeah,
I
no,
forgive the
it's
babies.
shenanigans.
Okay, I will send you my code. Or I guess I don't have to because you sent me yours.
Yeah.
Okay. Time to read it out loud.
Wait, to receive a friend request. No.
What?
Also, for any of Gauntlet Queen's people that aren't familiar, I have foster kittens.
Yes.
So sometimes they cause a chaos.
And they are very, very adorable. And you can
Little
see them.
babies. Yeah, I have a kitten cam on my ends.
Yes. I should mention, in case I wasn't clear, we are both streaming on our own channels as well. So,
yeah, so if you want to
there's...
see Gauntlet Queen in proper 3D movements, she's streaming on her end.
Yes, and if you want to see kitties, then you can go to Melony's end. Also, my eye movement is a little lacking today because I didn't take off my makeup.
Meh.
I forgot to do it, and I have no time anymore. I have to Sploon. I have
it
to
really
skip
affect
through
that a
all
lot?
the deep cut announcements. Oh wait, listen to Splatcast. Right, you can do that now. Good. Did you get my friend request?
Oh, yep. 1 sec. Become front.
Yes. Elgato cards have a pass-through mode, so the video doesn't have latency, but the audio does. Okay, interesting.
If the audio has latency, it's extremely small with the newer ones, because like I can't notice it.
Should maybe think about investing in one of those then. I have a Verve Media LGP Lite. It was on sale at one point, so
Yeah, I assume it's similar to like the old Elgato I had, which definitely had a noticeable delay.
oh wait, the game. Yeah, chat can see the game now. Okay, so we'll start off with just regular Splatfest or Turf War, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do I friends? There's Zoe.
I've rejoined a pool. Have I?
I don't know how I like invite you to play. Can you drop in on me?
Are you in game already?
Yes, I'm in the lobby.
Okay, I do not see it in my friends list. Oh. Let me see.
You
I
gotta
do
make
have you
a
as a
room, I
friend
think
now.
someone says. Okay.
I have my friends list open, but it does not say that you are online. We don't. It's not
Where do
some
I make a
bullshit
room?
about me being on European servers and you being on American.
No, because
is it?
I
That'd
see
be...
you online.
Oh, you do? Okay, well then invite me, I guess.
Okay, well, there's no like button to invite apparently. My people, how do I make a room?
Please. I've done it. It's been so long.
Are the pools rooms?
I think so. I think the pools are the rooms. I keep calling them like open lobbies, but oh wait, leave pool. I'm in the
I left the
GQ pool. Okay, I've left Gauntlet Queen. And the name of the pool you'd like to join. After joining, you'll be able to. Okay, so what we?
Wait.
Oh,
Okay, with friends.
are you making a
Regular
pool?
battle with friends. Oh, create a room. Set password, I guess. So that only our cool kids can join.
I guess so. I think pools are something different, maybe. I think pools are more like
pools
clans.
are like general, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm making it 9808. Yeah. Creating room.
Okay, hold Y to invite all online friends or people in pool. So we do have to be in the same pool?
Wait.
So we do have to be in the same pool.
I made a room.
Okay, let me see if I can... Oh yeah, okay, I can join you. What's the password?
9808.
9808. It's not a particularly funny number.
Look, I was gonna go for something and then I was like, eh.
Does make it hard
There
to
we
crack.
go. Yeah,
What
and
if it's
if anyone
boom?
else
Yeah.
wants to join us, 9808. Or wait, how do they know? How would
Well,
they?
yeah, they have to be in the same pool as us in order to be able to join.
God damn it!
Or like as one of us anyway. So my pool is just GQ because when pools were just new, me and my community played a lot, and that was like the pool was just GQ.
Okay.
So I guess just try joining that, or we want to make one that is.
Well, here. Okay, wait.
A combination.
Oh god.
Haha, we should have figured this out before the stream.
Oop. All right. Pools.
I'm in the GQ pool now. Melony needs to hold Y to invite people to the lobby, I think.
Well, it just invites people in the pool and my friends, which I've already done.
Well, in that case, try joining.
Well, those people aren't in my pool or my friends.
Well, but they're in my pool? Are you in... What pool are you in?
I was in the SD pool, but I think I left it
Then
because I thought
guess
I misunderstood what we were doing. Okay, wait. I'm gonna demake this group
Yes.
game if I can.
Let's make a pool that's just like a collection of... It's just for this, like just like Melony GQ or
How
something,
complicated
you know?
would that be?
No, it's not hard. Because making a pool isn't actually... It's literally just... You select like a name for yourself, and anybody who chooses the same name is in the pool with you. Like, you don't have to go through a registry or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, if you go to like... So you press L, and then you go to
we
the...
could just use your pool.
Oh,
We could
okay,
just use
sure.
your Gauntlet Queen pool if you're okay with that. Is
Yeah.
there like a password? How do people join it?
Nope, it's you just press L and then you go to the little letter icon with L and R, and then you press plus to either leave your current pool or join one, and then if you join, you just enter GQ and that's it.
Okay, uppercase, I assume.
Uh-huh.
Oh. Okay, uppercase G Q. Okay. Into GQ. Join this pool? Yeah. Please wait.
Mm-hmm.
You joined GQ.
I can't wait to finally get into the game and show off how bad I am at Splatoon.
Oh, so then we should you should probably leave the thing we're in. The room. It looks like you're still in it. Because I don't think we actually need a password then.
If it's friends only, I think not now. But I am not in a room anymore.
It says
Splatoon.
joinable and it says password required.
Oh, Splatoon is normal.
Oh wait, maybe refresh. Nope. Still
Oh,
says
that's
that.
probably it. Nope. Yeah, it also says that you are still in one. Are you? It says that you are
Shouldn't be.
in two of them.
What the fuck?
I don't know. But if I go to
Wait,
friends,
okay,
it does not
I'm
say.
going to create a room. No
Oh, they're just
password.
notifications.
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense. So there's notifications. They're not actual rooms.
Yeah, Phobos, you just have to join the GQ pool.
Yes.
And I am recruitment notification sent to friends and players in your pool.
Hell yeah.
Okay. I got. Oh yeah.
It's working. We got someone.
There we go.
It's my Bunshines.
Yeah,
Woo!
and I would just ask that people leave after a game to let other people join, and then
Yes.
we can get a feel of how many people there are who want to join, and then you can always come back in once we know how many people are switching in and out.
Yes, please. That's a good point.
All right.
So yeah,
Hey,
on my end as well. If you want to play with us, the pool is just GQ, 2 letters, uppercase, and then you'll be able to join the lobby.
Yeah.
Ah.
All right,
all right,
I
let's
am
go.
ready to go.
Yeah. It's been so long since I've played regular Turf War, but I will do my best.
I am competent at Splatoon. I would I would confidently file myself as competent.
Yeah, I can imagine. You play more regularly.
I wouldn't say that. I used to.
You play more
played a ton of
regularly,
Splatoon
relatively
2.
speaking. Oh, the eggs! I forgot my eggs. I don't know. I think this stream we might go without eggs if that's all right for everyone. For those who don't know, on my end I have a redeem where if you spend 1 point you can get an egg on stream, and so together we covered the right side of or the left side of the screen with eggs. But for something like this, I can't
it might
constantly
be much to
pause
keep
the
up
game
with.
to do that. So, any mods in chat, please pause that
Disable egg.
redeem for this stream and refund all the eggs, please.
Disable egg.
Disable the
This
egg.
is only 1 point, right?
Chat will remember. It's only 1 point. That's true.
I think everyone will be okay.
Oh, dang it. We're doing good. We're
Alas, the people must go eggless.
wait, I'll paint our base a little bit.
Excellent. Oh, I'm gonna get killed. Oh, killed someone somehow.
Nice job.
No, they're working together. No.
Aw, someone's sad because they finally got first egg again, and now it doesn't even count. It still counts. It still counts that you got it first. It's okay, even if it doesn't get on stream. I still acknowledge,
The egg is in
Kiraket, that
your heart.
you got the first one. Right, move up. I say, as if I have any kind of authority on this game that I haven't played multiplayer for too long. Oh, dang it. I was about to pull out my reef, whatever, shark thing. I forgot what it's called.
Dang it. Curse you, Charger. Okay. Base not pretty yet.
Okay.
I have an ally on this front.
Damn it.
Hey, you get out of here. You get out of here.
Get out of our territory, hey!
All right, you kids. Clear out, clear out.
Get out of our orange lawn.
Yeah. Pretty
Oh, I
easy
killed
so far,
someone.
though. Nice.
And then I got killed, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'll always be like, it's a wash.
Yeah. This looks pretty close so far.
Yeah, we're pretty evenly matched so far.
Oh god. Oh no.
Yo, fuck you, Charger. Haha.
Yeah, dude. Was that you? Was that you who teleported to me and then instantly died?
No.
Okay, well, someone
I
did.
killed a Charger person real quick.
Oh, good job. You took revenge for the person who teleported to me and instantly got sniped by the charger.
Alas. Let's see how we did. Pretty close in any
well-
case. Yeah!
Yo! I wasn't sure we were gonna win that one.
Yeah, I think we had better base coverage.
Nice. That's us. The you
Oh,
and me.
you're all appropriately dressed.
Yeah! I love my Inklings outfit.
Me and let your fist bump. Alright, well done, everybody. I'm the
Nice
number one
job,
tour
team.
finger. Yum.
Right,
Okay.
so players who were in
So
that
thank
match,
you very
please
much for
leave
joining
to let
us.
others people join.
Oh
you also
no,
left?
if I said... I assumed that I had to not click continue, because then...
You thought you would immediately queue up for another match. That is actually what happened.
Yeah.
You're right. I am wrong. How do I leave? Help.
If you can't hit minus, then you're fucked.
Well, I'm going to do a solo. Uh-oh. I want to go. I want to
Join
go
the next
home.
battle once the spot opens.
Go sleep mode? I did it.
Wait,
I hope
did
this
you
doesn't fuck up
abandon your
the
team?
capture. I wasn't on purpose. I didn't mean to.
But like, were you already fighting?
No, I wasn't. I was in the lobby waiting to match. Communication error has occurred. Yes!
Oh, okay. Oh,
Love when that happens. My favorite. Alright, let me get picked. I'm getting picked to lobby.
Wait, I need to make the...
Wait. Yeah, I just gotten into a match. Oops. Oh well. Multiplayer. That's the funniest thing to me. It's like, all right, time to play, and then the moment you walk in, it's like, oh, the multiplayer maps have changed. And it's like, but
Alright, you should have a recruitment notification.
yes, I do. Thanks so much. Or wait, do I? Yes, I do. You disconnected during the last match you played. If this keeps happening, you may lose the ability to play online for a while. Make sure your internet isn't busted and try again. It's not my fault. It's because you guys made me.
You could have finished the match.
Well, yeah, but like without y'all, that's no fun.
It's polite.
Isn't it also polite to like stick with the people that you're hanging out with?
Well, ideally. But you know, things happen.
It's
makes
a
me
bit of
want
a social
macaroni and
paradox,
cheese.
I suppose.
Alright, is there anyone else who wants to get in? If not, one of the other people that were just in can rejoin.
And if you want to get in, we don't know how. Simply join the GQ pool. That is capital G, capital Q, and then you should be able to join.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say
10, 9, 8, 7,
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
alright, open season on people who've already been in. Get back in here, somebody.
Get in.
Let's fucking go.
What if people only left after a loss, so you can put together a perfect strike team?
Hell yeah.
The
Feel
people,
free
the
to
people
join us,
who,
but only if you've got mad skills.
yes. Well,
Welcome
the
back,
Melody, that means I
sunshine.
wouldn't be allowed to play.
Oh no. No, we need people to carry us.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we're looking for.
We need people who are so insanely skilled that they can just take on a team of 4 with the 2 of them. And also, you and I
Oh,
are
yeah.
there.
Yeah, just chilling. Inking
Yeah,
our base.
we're chilling. We're painting
Now,
the
I got
base.
most Torf inked.
Nice. I got most ink assisted or something.
Oh, splat assisted.
That's the one.
Nice. Battle time.
Battle time.
Battle time. Dum 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 dum.
I tried playing this game once, but I got too perfectionist about trying to cover every single corner with paint perfectly.
Look, there's a use for that, especially when you're new to the game. You know, you can just kind of hang out at the base most of the time and help make sure it's very fully covered. That's legit.
Yeah, there's a purpose to it, I'd say. That's like one of the best things about
I love Splatoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can like run in with the roller as a newbie and just help
shit.
with coverage.
Oh, I've been killed. Another AFKing. That feels rude.
Oh no! Oh, poor person.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
I see. That's why.
See, this is what people experience.
Oh, you're right. I feel so bad now. Damn. I will never disconnect again. I'll make you all wait for me for a really long time.
Hell yeah. 3 minutes.
I suppose.
That's the nice thing about Splatoon too, is that the battles
no,
are very...
don't keep going. Fuck.
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, we are? Okay. Yay! I didn't fuck it up that time.
Yeah, because we're not switching people out.
Oh yeah, of course, because we didn't actually do a
They
match
didn't
yet.
get to
Right.
Oh, this color's so good.
I love this color.
Yum, 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 yum.
It's the
yum,
Miku
yum.
color.
It is.
Well, is Splatoon gonna do a crossover with Miku, I wonder?
They should, because the Squid Kids, or you know, like the Squid Sisters, they have their concerts that are basically like Miku concerts.
Yeah. I was so excited because there's another like Miku Expo going around the world, you know.
Oh, the one with the screens, though.
Yes, I was so excited to go to one again because it's been years.
Yeah, I've never been to a Miku concert.
God, the one that I went to was the best. It was one of my favorite concerts I've ever been to. And then I find out that this one's just like a monitor. It's like, are you kidding me?
No, yeah, I definitely saw about it, because, yeah, horrible.
Makes me so sad.
Oh, this is the official Splat 3 colors that are lame.
Oh yeah.
Or no, wait, or I think it's blue, a very similar blue. That's the official color.
Oh.
Oh, sniped. Hello, DGS. It's because I am double streaming today. So I can splat with friends.
Hell yeah, I'm dead again.
It's valid. That's so valid.
Thank you for acknowledging me.
Oh, this one ain't going so great.
Yeah, they're a little bit kicking our ass.
Just a teeny bit. Damn.
Okay. Oh, I'm not gonna be okay in a second. I died.
It's okay. I think we're all dying.
We're all dying together, you know? That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, that's teamwork.
Uh-huh. No.
I took one of them with me.
Nice, good job.
I'll take it.
Ugh.
Yeah, I think these guys fucking know what they're doing, unfortunately.
Yeah, they do. Oh. Okay. I will just stay back and paint base a little bit. They put some balloons here, and I'm just cleaning up the balloons.
How dare they be so good at this?
How dare they be, I don't know, have fun.
How dare they
enjoy the
be?
game so much that they get good at it. So rude.
Okay, I splatted a couple of them.
Good job.
Dang.
I died.
That checks out. These fuckers. Look, I'm saying because we're all dying, but very bad.
I know,
too good at
but by
this
itself it
game.
does kind of sound like you're just saying like, yeah, Zoe does die a lot in Splatoon. Which isn't untrue.
Nah, we're all feeling it.
This map's generally a pain to play on if the enemy team has a charger. Definitely noticed that
Yeah.
last time. Hey, you know what? We didn't lose that bad.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. People who know what they're doing have an unfair advantage.
Exactly. It's bullshit.
It's true.
Okay. So are we? What are we clicking?
Let's see. I think done. Stop.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I need to switch out my shoes anyway.
Wait, that does also kick you out of the lobby.
Wait,
How
I accidentally
annoying!
keep going. Oh wait, here's
Oh.
cancel. There. Okay. Wait, first of all, I need to go eat some food at the counter.
Oh yeah.
Oh, never mind, I have an active effect. I'm good.
I
Okay, so
probably
very
don't.
importantly, I need to change my shoes, is what's really important.
I'll do a double XP for everyone. Yum yum
Okay,
yum yum
and
yum.
then I'm hitting L. I'm regular battle
Someone
with
thinks I'm
friends.
fresh.
Create a room. Yeah.
Thank you, someone. Someone thinks I'm fresh. Thank you, someone.
Aw, yeah.
And I join Melony.
All right. Anyone who wants to join? Lightyear, if you want to get back in, feel free. Whoever wants to get in.
Let me try a different weapon.
Kiri Cat.
Hi, Gara.
Whoop.
I don't even have a lot of weapons. I really just settled on the undercover Bella and didn't do anything else. I think when I when I played Splatoon 3 competitively.
Yeah, I definitely am like Splooshomatic or a roller. Are my babies.
I'll go dualies. That was my main too. And I'll try really, really hard to remember that I have a dodge roll.
Hell yeah. Macaroni and cheese sauce.
I love my gay little umbrella. I do love the umbrella weapons. They're very fun.
You like to be under your umbrella, Ella.
Oh.
It's too bad that it can't, like, in real time, have you collectively ink the area. If you're
Yeah,
in
that'd be
the-
amazing.
Yeah.
And imagine if everybody had a different color during the lobby.
That would be madness, but also adorable.
It'd be so cute, because then you could like
Battle
paint things
time.
together. Battle time!
Yeah. Bum, 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 ba, dum.
Let's go. We got the Miku colors. We got Miku on our side.
Let's do it. Yo, guys, orange, whatever. What Vocaloid even is that?
None, I think. I don't think there are any of
Oh,
those.
one of my controllers is saying low battery. This is fine.
Uh-oh.
Hopefully, I think there's enough time for me to plug it in after the round.
I killed someone.
Hell yeah.
This is it. This is my era. This is my time. Oh, I helped kill someone else.
Hell yeah.
Melony, it's happening.
We did
Chat,
it
it's
together.
happening. I'm becoming so powerful.
Use the power of friendship, baby.
That's right. I died. Friendship sucks.
No.
Oh, okay. Friendship
be
is
back.
awesome.
More powerful than they can possibly imagine.
That's true. Hey, get the fuck away from our base. Oh god.
Yeah, whoa. Who brought all this orange up in here?
It's Agent 3. They're killing us.
How dare.
Although I think they're also leaving again. Or not, they're just kind of hanging out. Uh-oh. They brought a friend. They brought everyone. They're all like in a corner. Oh god. Oh god. They're kicking our asses.
These things, white puzzles, you know, they can happen. This is okay.
It's alright. As long as we have fun. It's all good. Oh no.
Stop being so good at this game.
I know. Can we get matched up with some fucking babies? Some literal babies?
It is a teeny tiny baboose. Should this not be a children's game? I demand to fight only children.
That's right, that's right. I think the only people playing this game are children that we can beat and us.
No,
No?
this is a game for distinguished palates. Oh no.
Oh, we're doing
Okay, now we're
bad.
officially in big pain.
Oh, I killed them.
Hey.
We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back. These last 10 seconds, all we need.
Yeah.
Never
we
mind,
got
I died.
this.
This isn't it. Not the round.
Nah, I don't think so. Fucking oops.
Yeah.
Ow.
Oof. So, okay, so if we select stop the lobby ends, if we select keep going, then we just immediately get queued up for another match.
Yeah, I guess the etiquette would just be for individual people joining us to not hit keep going. And we hit keep going.
Sure? But
Maybe.
We
Oh
can
yeah, but it's
try
trying to
it.
match us then.
yeah,
Never
but then you
mind,
can't
I'm
join because we're
wrong.
already matching up. I think we just have to make a new. You just have to make a new lobby every time.
Okay, well I can't cancel, so it's just me and you, girl.
All right. I
Never mind.
stopped.
Wait, you left me!
I didn't do anything. I just was just waiting out the timer. I guess I just get stopped automatically, which makes sense. It's just you.
I can't cancel out.
I'll try to join you still if I can.
Hey, okay, so people can still join.
I'll join the next battle once the spot opens up. Is what it says, which
What?
is something. Also, Bunshines on my side says, I also had the thought, do we have enough people to do a private lobby? So that would be like 8 people, right?
Oh, wait, does that mean we just fight each other?
Yes. Would you want to do that?
No.
No?
Nah.
You want to fight randos?
Okay,
you can...
I gotta do a game just without. I'm sorry. This.
Yeah, no, it's
the way
alright.
This is stupid.
It's okay, it's okay. I'll watch
Alright.
your end on
I'm
my
gonna beat
stream.
these guys up real quick. I'm gonna do so fucking good
Hell yeah, I believe in you.
for honor. I do have the color of Miku on my side again.
Fuck yeah.
Why didn't my controller charge? Oh boy. Everything works amazingly.
Oh,
Oh,
oh. I love your little pearl drone. You.
oh yeah, my little Proton friend.
Yeah, it's so cute.
My
I just
little
love all the work
drone.
that you put into all your models and stuff. It's really cool.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow.
But yeah, after this we can like try making a private lobby to see how many people there are.
Well,
Oh no, wait, no, you didn't want to do that.
wait,
Sorry, never
do you
mind.
really, yeah, do you really just want to fight between like us 8 people?
No. Sorry, it's I momentarily forgot that you didn't want to do that. I had a long day.
Oh, I mean, I can if people want to try that.
Well, if you don't want to do it.
I just don't know. I don't know what like skill level everyone is at, and if they would be like comfortable fighting, just competing with each other.
I guess. It is kind of. I do feel like it's a little bit more fun if we fight against random opponents, because then we can just all be like, these randos that
Yeah.
aren't here and we don't care about and they can't hear us. We can say whatever we want. We can just have
Yeah, it's
more
like
fun with
co-op.
that, you know? We can shit talk them.
Hell yeah. These goons. We're
These
getting wrecked again.
goobers.
But I don't think it's my fault, so it's all good.
It's never your fault. You're fine.
Alright. 38 more seconds.
Oh. You might still win this. I think there's a possibility.
Yeah, thank you, friendo. Dang
Oh.
Sega!
Fuck you!
it. Okay.
So did you win? We can't see it yet on my end. Ow.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, that doesn't look like you won. But you put up a good fight.
I did my best.
You did your best, and that's all
the
that
greatest
matters.
gift of all.
Getting back to my game.
Dang, I need that cute little, like, suspenders outfit. Suspender suit thing.
Oh, I should
I was
also
putting it
mention.
to work.
Sorry.
Oh, fine.
Sorry, I was gonna say I should also mention to my chat that a communication error has occurred, just so you guys all know.
Alright.
I don't know why, but that there is like a significant video delay on my end, so I react to things before they happen. I'm so sorry. When playing single player Switch games, I can negate this, but not when I'm playing online.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know the suspenders are one of the rewards for the online app, Lightyear. I need to get so many more fucking,
Oh yeah, the
what
app.
is
I
it,
forgot about
steps
that.
or whatever. Alright, anyone who wants to come in, come on in.
Ew. Join us.
Points painted? I see. Well, I'm working on it.
Yay.
Alright.
Let's go.
God, I love the animation and stuff on these guys so much. Look at our sassy little sweet kid, the like face that they make when they're ready, like, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill you.
I'm a splutzia.
Also, in about 15 minutes, I'm gonna have to do my Astrogel, so I'll have to take a little break from that. You wanna maybe do some salmon run after that?
Yeah.
Okay. I love Squid Kid so much.
Boom. Yeah, I just fucking love the art of these games.
Me too.
Especially 2, but I mean, this one's so good. 2 just hit the perfect aesthetic, and also Pearl and Marina are so fucking good, excellent wives.
They are. I love them so much. I gotta
so
get back
goddamn
to.
married.
Oh, I got him in a corner. Help! Oh my god! I survived that.
Hell yeah. You gotta get back to the side order.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
How far are you in side order?
Oh, not very far yet, because I wasn't able to play last week. So I've only done like about 3 hours or so.
Gotcha. Wah!
Did I not?
I got crackened.
You got cracked? Oh dang it, I should have used my special. Still, that's probably the longest I've stayed alive in a match ever.
We got this.
So I'll take it.
We're awesome.
You're right. Thank you.
Fuck
I'm
yeah.
gonna prove how awesome I am by killing this dude. Check it out, chat. They're gone. I don't
do
see them anymore.
it.
They ran away scared is what happened.
That'll show him. Damn.
Damn.
Bam.
Damn it. Turns out the strongest enemy inside the order is the common household drill. Yeah. My last week's streams got cancelled because my neighbor is getting a new kitchen and bathroom installed, which means that for days and days and days and days, they've just been drilling constantly 8 hours a day. And it was sapping my energy so bad I got cracking.
Especially if you have like a different sleep schedule.
Yeah. I kept
Horrible.
getting woken up by it.
No, things are going so decently. What happened here?
I don't know.
Fucking chargers.
That's it. That should ban them.
Yeah. Go play Call of Duty or whatever.
Agreed. Oh,
You don't want to enjoy the pure joy of painting. My
they don't
fucking
love
God.
Bob Ross like we do.
Horrible.
We can win this one.
Let's see.
Maybe.
I couldn't even take you with me. Horrible.
I died.
There should, in theory, be another map in rotation, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Where that other map at?
I think it'd be cool if they did 3 maps in rotation at a time. So it's just a
Yeah.
little more likely that you don't get this scenario where you just... Oh, Benshines, it's okay if you do Charger because you're on our team.
Yeah. No, Chargers on our team, especially if you're doing a good job. Hey, that's excellent.
The better of a job you do, the more we appreciate you.
Look, it is known that that map is particularly good for Chargers. I'm not saying I did an amazing job or whatever. I'm just saying. Some maps are better for the close range weapons than others. Okay.
I'm gonna do Ink Brush now.
New room.
Refresh. Oh, there we go.
Creating room.
Ah, someone from my chat is on their way to join us.
Alright, excellent. I saw it say low battery for my controller, even though my controller is plugged in. So, I'm
Scary. This is actually, you know how you have like those like concrete car roads that have these little yellow dotted lines on them?
Yeah.
The way that the thing I was doing on my end, that's how you actually make those. You just hold your brush to the ground and then do little bunny hops.
I see.
Yes. Let's go, team.
Wah.
Woo!
We booyah'd. We can't possibly lose.
That's how it works. Power of booyah.
The power of friendship. And this same fucking map again, though. What the hell?
I think there's just one map. Ever.
No.
Uh-oh.
That ain't how it's supposed to work. Where's the M?
Damn it.
There you are. Hello.
That's why you lost so
Got
badly. I
revenge
didn't
for you.
booyah. You got a booyah.
Yeah. That's where all the power comes from.
It's true. I killed someone.
Hell yeah. Chargers.
Oh, I killed someone. I mean, splatted someone. This is a non-violent video game.
Oh, I forgot to ask my chat. How are the relative volumes? Can you hear both us in the game? Okay, and everything.
Oh yes, please, please tell us. Also, they got 2 chargers. I fucking hate these guys. Even though they've been doing
know.
quite well so far.
It's good. Okay,
Sounds good here. Good.
I'm definitely
Ow.
getting my points towards my cute suspenders. I'm just on that grind.
Yes,
Fuck
yes.
you. Fuck you. Quinka.
No, they know I'm here.
Oh my
Fuck.
god. I just
like,
came
what if
to
I
life.
Me when
I was
I'm
just
born.
born. Can't kill me when I was just born.
That's rude. See, that's bad etiquette.
Yeah. Fuck you. Where'd they go?
Ah, no.
Shit.
They're being so mean to us. And my blanket's falling off. Nice.
Okay. I'm on a murder spree.
Good, good. You'll love to see it. Alright, we might have won that one.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, dude, we
fuckers.
super
Eat
won that
shit.
one. Easy. Get fucked. It was
I
not
know.
easy. We fought very hard.
More. Boom.
Fuck yeah. We're awesome.
Yeah, I felt like I put my work in that time.
Honestly, me too. I felt like I was doing better with the ink brush than I was with the other weapons I've tried so far.
Heck yeah.
Stop.
Zoom.
Let me know when you have a
Share real
room up.
quick. Dude.
What if I just do a match like this, just jumping around like this? I wonder if the enemy would take notice and then not kill me because they think I'm some
They're
sort of
like, oh, it's
creature.
a 5-year-old. Okay.
We shouldn't be mean to the 5-year-old.
Create a room.
And then I can like sneak up on them, you know? They won't expect it when I just suddenly completely destroy
Yeah.
them.
And then they'll be like, oh, you know what? I'm happy for that small child.
Oh yes, I think if they try that shit again, I'll just let them.
Boom.
Join. Let's go! Get in
Back at him,
here!
man. Whoever wants to get in here. I'm going to make a perfect, beautiful circle.
But they added like table turf multiplayer, didn't they?
Yeah, you can fight each other.
Yeah, I still haven't done
Have
that.
you done much of that mode?
Not a lot. I liked it though. I thought it was cute.
Yeah. I'd be down for doing just like one quick fight each other in it
Sure.
before we go to Salmon Run, maybe.
Absolutely.
Oh, how long do you think your break will be?
It's usually about 20 minutes. I can cut it down to like 15 if you want.
Oh, yeah, then I might just like play with chatters or whatnot in the meantime.
Yeah, sure, that works.
All right.
Let's go. We're gonna win again.
Hell yeah, we are.
Hell yeah, we are.
Booyah!
I'm always forgetting to booyah.
Can't possibly defeat us. We have the power of booyah.
We have the power of booyah. Ooh. I want a sippy.
Oh, this map also isn't great for close combat.
No, it's not. But hey, it's a
I'm doing
different
my
map.
best. Yeah. I'll take it.
As long as it's different. Okay, yeah, I killed someone.
Hell yeah.
Jump. Got someone again.
Horrible. No, horrible.
Oh, no. Okay, I got the sip. Ah, I died. Look, I fucking hate the Rainmaker special when the enemy has it because it's so messy, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Just like a random bunch of wrong colored dots
Little
everywhere.
dots
It's like,
yeah. Disgusting.
uh-huh. Thank you very much for, to the Random Hand for following.
Oh, I know you, random ham.
Hey. No, I died. No.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's alright.
Gonna bring it back.
Yes. You all the way over there. Hold on, I'll try to come help. Now that looks like you need my help.
I mean, I am
Oh,
dead.
well, you just died. Never mind.
I don't need your help. I'm dead.
Oh, I also died.
I'm beyond help.
Oh,
I'm in
okay.
the immortal plane.
Well, that's okay. I also died, so I wouldn't be able to help you anyway.
Excellent.
Ah, good. Everything according to plan.
Take that, jinkies.
Okay. Did we get it back? No.
I don't think so.
Don't think we did actually.
Damn. So much
That's
uncovered
okay.
area.
Listen, they were just cheating or something. It's all right.
I hate when the other team wins when they like leave a bunch of uncovered area. I'm like, ugh.
Ugh,
they didn't
honestly,
do a good,
though.
thorough job.
Like, you guys don't deserve that win.
Yeah, this isn't in the spirit of painting the town.
Exactly. Stop.
Chop, chop. This racer top makes me look way too cool. Fucking NASCAR squid. I knew. Alright, so can you do one more match before?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay. Here you go. I look like a little pit stop kid. Alright. I'm learning the buttons that I need to press.
By the end of this, you'll do it without even thinking.
Yeah, it'll be instinctive. My body remembers.
Exactly. Sippy. I take a sippy, thank you. I don't have a sippy. I forgot to fill my bottle. You guys have a little bit more in here. I'll make sure to fill it during the
have a
break.
chance soon.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who wants to come in, come on in.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, look at cricket.
And it's stretchy and such.
Welcome, Madam Mint. And Jaxie.
I'm stretched. Let's go.
Yo, Adam Mint, ready up.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. Wait, where's where you can see the...
This is what a winner looks like. We do look like winners because we are. Thank you, chat.
Hell yeah.
Chat called us winners, and they're right. Oh. Yes, yes, phone. I know,
Oh,
I know.
That's your alarm for it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Rebel Rebel by David Bowie, because that's my my Trans Awakening song.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's the line your mom's not sure if you're a boy or a girl. And I latched onto that lyric, and then way later, after some stuff happened, I heard it again, and I was like, oh! And that's how I found out I was trans.
This is incredibly on the nose.
Yeah. No wonder I subconsciously love this song
Whatever
so
could
much.
it have meant?
Yeah. But it was literally like, it was like while listening to the song and then hearing that lyric while thinking about, so I'm ace. I wonder what other kinds of queer I might be. And then I heard that lyric and I was like, oh!
Wait a minute.
I see now.
What, I got spied by someone named, no. There.
Rude.
I don't think
Splitting
I'm
the
familiar with this track that I'm
base.
hearing.
What'd you say?
I don't think I'm familiar with this track that I'm hearing in the game. It's like da-da, ba-da,
Yeah, I haven't heard it before either.
ba-da.
I still have to
Fuck you, no.
God, I hate no. I wasn't killed by no, I just hate them on principle.
Yeah. It's Smug Aura mocks me.
That's right. Damn it. I
I
think
might try to switch controllers during the break. It keeps saying low battery, so that makes me assume like it is charging, but then it like stops charging or something. It's like inconsistent.
Or it's just, like it's just not charging fast enough or something. It's
Yeah.
charging fast enough for it not to run out yet, but not so much that it actually stopped being low.
Maybe.
I killed no, I got him.
Yes!
The evil has
Revenge
been defeated.
had, and they will never return.
Never ever.
Ooh, we're doing good though.
Yeah, but then I ran into some enemies like a dipshit, but I'm sure it's fine.
It's all fine, it's all fine. We're
It's all good.
excellent and awesome.
Also,
Both
yes,
excellent and
sorry.
awesome.
Yeah, both
Thank
of
you
those
very much
things
for
you
the
are,
sub,
it's
Thunder.
true.
I mean Zeppo.
Yeah, there's no eggs today because with these like online matches and stuff, it would just be a little bit of a hassle if I kept having to make everybody
Yeah,
wait
that
so I
one
can put
seems like
eggs
a
on stream.
particular hassle.
Yeah.
Fun, but time consuming.
Oh, I'm so sorry, it's Jaxie. Oh. Who teleported to me just as I died and therefore also died the moment they landed.
'Twas me. No, you're doing so well. Fuck you, poor bull.
We still did well in my heart. I think we won.
I'm so proud of us. We got the
Me too.
moral victory.
Yes, exactly. Winning is
should have been more thorough inking your base,
Get
bitches.
fucked! We're the best!
Oh,
Whoa, 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 whoa!
You thought you were gonna win, but no.
We get the moral victory and the actual victory. Get fucked!
Oh.
Hell yeah! We're the best.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Boo, 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 boo.
No, not keep coming. No. Stop. Leave.
It
Shit.
can,
Shit.
minus.
I'm sleep mode. I got scared.
All right, are you officially good?
I'm fine. So yeah, you guys just play some matches for a bit, while I go on the break.
Excellent, excellent.
Yes. So everyone, I will be taking a, I guess 15 or so minute break this time, just so we can get back to playing together sooner. And do my Esther
Whatever
gel.
works.
Yes, do my Esther gel. If during this time, usually I'd be like, oh, you should do your own meds and stretch your legs and stuff, and you can still do that stuff. And you should also remember to stay hydrated for sure. But you can also go to Melony's channel and watch us play over, watch her and everybody else play over there.
So sneaky splats.
If someone in my chat could give you a shout out, that'd be great. Might be good to check you're not on matchmaking ban just before you go. I mean, I wasn't in the match itself this time, so that shouldn't matter, right? Question mark. Also, I don't know how I would.
Already in a match.
Yeah. Also, I don't know how I would check that without going into a match, and that's not what we want to do right now. We'll find out after break, I'm sure. Anyway, yeah, I'll see you guys in a bit. And on my end, you can listen to Splatoon music, I guess, if you want to do that instead. See you guys soon. Bye bye.
Hey.
Hi, Bendy, and your viewers. Hi, hi, hi. I'm on break right now. Sorry, but thank you guys so much for rating. I'll be back in like 10 minutes or so. See you guys soon. Also, if you have Splatoon 3, get ready because you can play with us. Hello.
Yeah, she's on break right now,
I'm not.
and we'll return soon.
I just saw.
So we're just doing a few matches in the meantime.
I'm back.
Oh no! Hey,
Hi, I unmuted, but I didn't unmute somehow. That was weird.
you've been resummoned. All right,
Yes, I'm here.
just got 2 more minutes left of a match.
Okay.
Do you know what rank you are in Salmon Run?
Probably not that high.
Okay, good.
Let me go check a look.
The runs get kind of unbearable when you get to be too high of a rank.
Yeah. Let's see. I am. No, wait, that's something else. Wait, how do you? Can you even see this from here?
I am not sure. You might have to go to Salmon Run Zone.
Yeah, I think you do. But we wanted to do some table turf first, right?
Oh yeah.
You can demote yourself now if you're out of practice or playing with a newer player. Oh, okay. So we could do
that's
that
fun.
if you wanted to. That is useful.
Yeah. Because, yeah, once you get into the various, like, professional levels, it's just like, fuck you.
Yeah. No, I do remember that. Whee! I remember, like, reaching a higher rank and then just, like, not being able to progress, so I ended up getting down ranked.
Yeah. No, it became, like, impossible for us to finish, like, 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, hello to the raiders that I got during the break. Thanks so much for coming. Hi.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pandy. And hi, everyone, also. Just welcome back, gang. So if we want to go, how do we do turf war versus each other?
Oh my god,
turf?
I didn't even know executive was a rank. I think it's a
Executive,
similar
nice.
thing. Also, shut up, Golex. Professional isn't that bad.
Different people have
Professional
different
is
skill levels.
impossible, Golex. Nah, it's not that bad. Whatever, you think you're better than me.
It's a personal experience. If someone says that it's really, really hard, then it's really, really hard for them. Also, there's art here for Lesbian Visibility Week. Like, give me a Butch GF now, it says. I get it.
Yes, baby.
Where did you? Oh, there, over
Alright,
here.
our fight is finished. Boom.
Oh, I take a sippy. I can take sippies now. Thank you, chat.
Thank goodness.
Yes, the world is saved. And hello, Lucina.
I was overall splatter and turf anchor, so not my fault. That's the greatest gift of all. Not my fault.
No, you're okay.
Okay, so
Is it still
oh
in
wait,
the lobby?
actually, I think maybe you need to go up to the table turf. Here, yeah, the table turf tables. Upstairs.
Okay, yeah, let me go there.
I am creating a room,
Good job.
a table turf room.
Table turf battle. I am joining a room.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Sigh, you came for the table turf. I'm here to fight Zoe.
Yeah, we're gonna
Take a
kill each
seat.
other with cards.
No one tell your work. All right.
Okay, you choose this.
Yeah, here, this one's kind of balanced generally. Oh god, which deck was I using?
I have 2. I have starter deck and Bois. I assume Bois was the one I built myself, so I'll get that one, I guess. It's been a while since I
Sure.
played, so I'm sure this will go well.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Sure, I'll hold my hand.
Hold steady. Rock steady. I'm protecting my turf.
You really, like, immediately just, like, almost completely blocked me off from all that stuff back there. Whoa, okay. I feel like you have bigger pieces than me.
Some, yeah.
That's an
No,
unfair
I played
advantage.
quite a bit of this for a while, but then it gets really hard, like even just against the NPCs.
It's fun
They
though.
get to be big assholes. Oh yeah, no, it is very addicting.
Melony going full mean. Why are you so mean to me? Hey!
I have to win.
No, you don't. You can just have fun. What happened to having
Well,
fun?
yeah, it's fun to win.
Oh, damn, you got me there.
No, I won't allow it. Not that I can do anything about it.
Does this count? I'm just gonna try. Oh, that counts. Good.
Hi.
Hello, Crimson
Yeah,
Flesh
yeah.
Area.
The walls and stuff count, which is
Uh-huh.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of little strategy that makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Beep, beep.
This, I guess. I'm so stuck. I feel like I might lose this one.
Yeah. You kind of gotta, like, if you can, use smaller pieces and, like, build up your special. Because you, like, need the special to
Oh,
cross
right.
my
I forget about the
asshole
special.
wall.
Forgot about that. What does that do again?
Yeah. It lets you play pieces on top of my pieces, which is how you can kind
Oh.
of breach this kind of bullshit that I've set up.
Right. That wasn't a good placement, actually. Oh well. The music is so cute here, though.
Dun, dun, banana, bam, bam. Bum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum,
And I love the art on the cards. Oh, I can't place any of
Yeah.
these. Oh no.
Can you do a special?
Yeah, I can do a special.
You must breach.
It's all I can
So I
do.
made a pretty solid wall. Oh,
I guess
wait,
I'll do
have you guys
this.
not been able to see the whole time?
Oh no.
I think I accidentally switched cameras.
Oh no. Well, they could see on my end.
Oops.
I can't do anything. Pass.
No. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm very serious about table turf, as you can see.
Clearly, yes. I commend your spirit. Even if I cannot match it. I feel like I might as well just give up. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do anything anymore.
Bum, 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 bum. Well, yeah, we only got one turn left.
That's true.
I'll think really hard about where to put shit. Oh,
You don't
beautiful.
have to. I literally can't place anything.
No, I gotta fill in this square. Beautiful.
Ah, okay.
Mwah.
Beautiful, beautiful move. I wonder who won. What? Hey, but I ranked
Just
up.
accidentally hit quit, keep playing. Oops.
That's okay. I guess I'll
No.
go with another one. This time I will beat you.
Okay. Let's just do one of these weird ones. These are weird. They like added a bunch more.
What if we both do starter deck?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even the playing field a little bit so you can beat me not through numbers but through actual skill. Prove to me that you have the skill, not just the cards.
Hey, deck building is a skill, baby.
Damn it, you're right. I've been defeated.
Haha.
In the marketplace of ideas, I've been defeated. Not ideas, what's that? Arguments? Discussion? I don't know.
No, it is a marketplace of ideas.
Oh, okay, alright.
Debate me in the marketplace of ideas.
Ooh,
A kiss.
the kiss. And it's beautiful. A win for Yuri.
Ba 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 ba.
Ba-da-ba-da-da-da-da.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm strategic now.
Fuck.
God, the music is so fun.
This is gonna get weird. Alright.
Card game Yuri. It's like if Yu-Gi-Oh was good. Is there a card game
These
Yuri?
shapes are so weird.
They are. I love how they represent things though. It's very, very good.
Yeah, that's fun.
Oh, this is a bad one actually. No, I need to get one specific card to be able to get that fucking special point. Not a lot of places I can go with this.
Okay.
I believe in myself. I believe I might still win this.
Well, that's unfortunate because I also believe in myself.
Oh,
Know what
damn!
happened?
Who will believe harder?
Shit. Fuck.
Damn.
This is a sticky wicket.
Can I fit this one anywhere? Good. Come on. No. Oh.
Dun, 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 dun.
Apparently I should be able to play this card. I don't know.
Oh, but you're like trying to find like where the heck it thinks you can play it.
Yeah, I have no idea. Oh! Is that smart?
Uh-oh.
I'll just do it.
Take a look. Son of a bee.
You caught some of my shit that I just put there. How dare you? These are so inconvenient. These don't give me no special points. Damn. Maybe if I... No, can't do that. But what if I... No, it doesn't work. No. But, okay, I'll do this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, so yeah, I saw spectating, so apparently he can see whatever, he can only see like one side's cards though, whoever he chose to spectate. I was wondering if he could see both hands.
Oh, because you can spectate in-game.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, he's
neat.
spectating in game.
Right, yeah. I'm looking for a particular card, but I'm not getting it.
Ain't that always the way?
Ain't that just the way?
Bum, 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 bum.
Well, there's not much I can do. Guess I'll put this here.
Alright.
I think maybe I won't win this one actually.
I have spent time in the
Wait, what do you mean?
mines. Wait, what is this called again?
Table
Table
turf.
turf.
I didn't place my thing yet. What's going on?
Oh no, did you accidentally hit skip?
I don't think so. Wait, did I click? Is skip? I think I pressed skip instead of special on. Damn it!
Shit.
Well.
Yeah.
And you're doing the
You
special
should have
on
one
me.
more square thing now though for special.
Yeah. It's the best place to put this. Oh, it's also just so unclear to me where you can actually put the specials.
Oh yeah, they have to be touching one of your darker colored pieces. Or I mean
Yeah,
the like the special squares, they have to be attached to one of the special squares. And they can't overlap other special squares.
Right. I think I'm getting it. Maybe.
Yeah, they have to touch one of your special blocks.
I'll just put this here, I guess.
Oh, she.
Oh, I might still win this. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna beat you in this last round somehow.
Nope.
What? You don't know that?
I shan't allow it.
It's not up to you.
Yes, it is. Because I believe in myself.
Well, I'd prefer if it wasn't up to you and that I would win. I think that would be cool
All right,
and good
let's
of. Well, check this out. This is gonna be you right here. Check it out. Boom. I believe in myself.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
I
you
also
know
believed in
what?
myself. Oops.
You know what? I got close.
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself. I will not keep playing though. Thank you, game.
That's the greatest gift of all. All right. Leave room.
Fun game though. I
For
do
the
really
Holy
like the
Spirit.
game mode.
Yeah, it seems like they really put some thought into it, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, to salmon run.
Yes, let's go.
I'm gonna hit the wrong button several times first.
How do you leave?
Okay.
Leave room.
Did you hit X to?
Doing it now. Yeah, I went from a 50-100 match to an 85 versus 95. Exactly. I did better.
Yeah.
I'm proud of what I've become. I think the one
Alright,
quality of
creative-
life I'd like for Table Turf is being told the valid spaces you can place a card would speed the game up a lot. Yeah, instead of having to just try to figure them out yourself. I agree with that. That would be more convenient.
Oh, boop.
I'm joining. And I even missed a turn on accident. Even more even. Yeah, dude, Melony, if I hadn't missed that turn, I might have beat you
Whatever.
by a hair. You know.
You would have had one less special square, and I would have counterplayed whatever you played. I would have done an awesome job. Super cool, awesome job.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Super
we'll never know for
cool,
sure.
Beautiful girl.
Whee!
Wee.
Whee!
Wee.
Okay, it's been a long time also since I played this one. Do they have any cool new features I should know about?
I don't think so. Like, did you ever fight the Kahuna thing?
Which one?
The
I fought
Godzilla fish?
I mean, I fought the original, the first one.
Kohozuna.
I've died, yeah,
Yeah.
Kohozuna. And,
I think it's
and
still just him.
Ouroboros. Oh. Don't we have
I don't know if those
Ouroboros?
other ones can show up in this normal one. I fought that one during the, like, big run mode.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if it can show up on the regular maps.
I should hope so.
Anyways, I have a charger. Now I am the charger asshole.
Proud of you, I guess?
I'm not very familiar with this map.
Me neither.
I
There's
don't even know
more?
if it's
Are
new or if
there?
I
Which
just
ones are
completely
there?
forgot it. Yeah, I heard there's at least one other one that I've never seen in terms of the big bosses.
If there was another one, I just completely missed that one, I guess.
Bum, bum, bum.
Cleaning the turf. Fighting the boss.
Oh, wow!
The boss is dead, it's okay. Wait, is that you?
One of you babies
Oh
done
no,
with my
that's
camera.
Polar Stars.
Oh,
Oh god, okay.
The maw.
The maw. I love the maw. Eh. Dude, I can... Is it just me or am I insta-killing iron heads or steel heads?
what weapon do you have?
Some kind of heavy-duty roller.
Ooh, oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense then, I think, if you can go top.
Very useful.
All right.
That went
We're going
well.
to prob.
All bosses can appear on any map, but it's usually only one per rotation, unless it's an all-random rotation. I think it should always be. I have a charger.
Yeah, apparently you can see which thing it is by the shape of the icon in the lobby.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Get out of here, fish.
I'm not good at attacking that thing.
Ah, shit! You got back up.
Damn it. Don't worry, I'll get you.
Apparently the one
not, because
I haven't
there's
encountered is Megalodontia.
Who's that?
I assume it's some kind of shark-like thing based on the name.
It does sound like it. I love sharks.
Wow.
Sharks are my favorite aquatic creature.
They're pretty cool. I like stingrays.
Also very, very good choice. There's a little fucking rocket bitch.
Rocket fish?
Rocket bitch, I got him though.
Oh,
And they got me.
I thought you were talking about an actual fish. I was like, what is a rocket fish?
Dude, that would be cool. I mean, there are... Thank you. Oh god,
like
I'm
dark fish and
overwhelmed.
such.
Oh, shit.
Oh no, I couldn't even tell that the water was there. Oh god.
Yeah, because they're the same color. I know, it's confusing sometimes.
Yeah, this is an unusual situation in that way.
Oh god.
No.
Oh god, we don't have quota. No, no. Quick, get these.
Yeah, get quota people, where are you?
Okay, we got quota. We fucking did it. Holy shit.
Ha ha ha.
Ah, we're awesome. We're so cool. Okay, jet sculpture. I can work with that.
There's a fish stick.
But sorry, when I said rocket fish,
trash can man.
fly fish or whatever, what did I call it?
Yeah, fly fish.
Yeah.
Or fly. Yeah.
Yeah, you know the ones. They've got the rocket launchers. And you have to
Sons
throw
of
bombs
bitches.
into them.
Damn. Gosh, the shark.
Oh god. Ah, fuck. Oh hey, you're dead.
Yeah.
Haha, me too.
Please revive one of us.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh god, polar stars.
Polar
Oh.
stars, please revive someone.
Oh. Okay, okay, okay. Oh god.
Well,
Oh
apparently
my
you can
god,
just
this
kill
is brutal.
is nothing compared to some of the higher rank shit.
Oh, I know, but still.
As much as it sucks.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm just like, okay, we're all dying, but I can actually see a distinctive number of bosses, which distinguishes us from.
Okay, come on, meet quota.
I just try to get. We gotta get those.
Okay, we got quota. That's all that matters, and also that we don't all die.
Oh yeah, and the quota's only 17. Amazing.
Man, that we passed it by that much at the end, it's crazy.
I'm dead.
Whew. Don't forget to use your specials. I'm always forgetting. I always only have the
what?
panic response to use them the moment I die, so then it's too late.
Yeah. Apparently the Kraken can actually kill the fly fish by hitting it, unlike, every other weapon.
Oh, that's nice. I think I might have heard about that. I heard about it now.
Hell yeah. Yum 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 yum.
Tasty, tasty points.
It's
I'm an
like you get no
overachiever,
rank
by the way.
points. Ah.
Leave.
Okay, leave.
As a reminder,
That's interesting. I
anybody...
said leave,
forgot to
but
do
it's still-
bumps in the socials, I just realized, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
You want to do that?
Yeah, it'll only take me like 10 seconds.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab a drink real quick then,
Okay.
because I ran out of my drink key.
Okay, I am going to challenge chat to a hold your breath competition because I have hiccups.
Whoa. Sorry about that. I understand that you were in some kind of hold your breath competition.
Yes, I was.
oh, look, if you look at the silhouette, I guess it's that megalodontal or whatever.
Hell yeah, I hope we get to see that one.
Yeah.
I held it for a while, I think.
Don't die.
I didn't. I had to get rid of the hiccups, so that is why. I lasted
you
you
had
by
to
half
die.
a second.
The only way to
Yes,
get rid of a hiccup
I
is to
win. What did you say?
I said the only way to get rid of a hiccup is to die.
This is true. It is only a way to get rid of it permanently. You never truly get rid of the hiccup. It simply will
can
lie
return at any
dormant,
time.
you know? I got a charger.
It's in remission.
Oh, high tide.
Roller.
You know, when it comes to high tide and low tide, I definitely prefer low tide because then it is more space.
Oh yeah, high tide is notoriously fucked because there's no space.
Yeah.
And then especially once you get to the higher ranks where there's like 20 bosses and no land, it's impossible. It's horrible.
Nice. Nice job, whoever shot the rocket back at it.
Oh yeah, I never do that.
I always
Like,
at least
I'll
try to shoot the.
try. It
Oh,
doesn't
I
happen.
died badly.
Oh
Oh,
fuck.
oh no. Oh my god, bunch of eyes. Okay, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, it's a fly fish.
Fuck you, fly fish.
Did we get it? Oh no, I missed. My bad. Nope.
I'll get you, Kira. Bam.
Okay, we met quota.
Oh, multiple fly fish.
Oh god. Oh, I died. What? Only one player left? No, how?
Shit can go south very fast.
Okay.
Here it
Gimme, gimme.
comes.
There we go.
More.
Oh, I'm gonna die. Never mind, I'm gonna live. I'm gonna live and survive and thrive. We got 24. We're awesome.
Hell
Look at us
yeah.
go.
Hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah.
We're the best at this, actually. Okay,
Jets.
Splatoon.
What? Sure. Low tide.
Hell yeah, I love low tide.
Boop, 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 boop.
It's named after one of the most endearing Pokemon. Did you know that? Lotad.
Oh, Lotad?
Yeah.
I do love Lotad.
I love Lotad. Oh,
Your
that's after me.
six-legged Kappa. Ow.
Yeah, it's so cute. Hey gang, it's me. I'm in the middle of a bunch of fucking monsters all over the place. Oh wait, right, the basket's over here now.
Hop. throwing them closer. Yeah, Kira.
Woo!
Teamwork.
Oh god, I'm jumping off of the tower. There's still some eggs up there, but I have to get off because I was being shot at by a fucking flyfish again.
You're good though.
I will revive you. Ah!
Oh, thank you very much for the revival bomb, Kira.
I was gonna come revive. Oh, I feel so stupid. I was gonna come revive you, and in my urgency, I swam through a grate, and therefore I died.
I appreciate the hustle.
Thank you. Saved you that time, though. Oh, and then I died. Anytime someone uses my Banshee Queen redeem, I'm like shocked. Like, why did I make that sound while laughing? That's weird. It's just a sound redeem where I'm
like,
laughing and then
sound.
Do like some sort of like inhuman screech. It's very funny.
Someday when I have infinite time, I'm gonna learn how to use Mix It Up for all those different kinds of redeems.
Mm-hmm. For that, I mostly use Touch Portal. I can teach you how to do that sometimes. It's not that hard.
Dodge Portal?
Touch.
Oh, touch
It's
portal.
basically it's like it's like a stream deck but on your phone, kind of.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
it's also not just your phone.
Sammy for that.
Mm-hmm. It also does like a bunch of other stuff.
Like Sammy, actually.
Can you also do like a bunch of automated stuff? Like just when something happens in the chat, then it'll like it's very useful for that.
Yeah.
So I use that for sound bites.
Yeah, it's like I keep meaning to set up eventually, like actual VTube Studio redeems. Like, especially I want to make one where people can squirt bottle me for my insolence.
Dude, this fucking roller is insane against the steelheads. I just killed 2 of them with one attack.
Give him the big slappy.
Yeah, dude, I just got a double kill on him.
Hella.
We got this. This round's easy. Hubris. Don't. Sorry. This round is reasonable.
Jinx us. Oh damn it, I accidentally hit the special. Oh wow. Oh, these mobs died.
Okay, got these 2.
Revive me. Yeah.
Ow. I've died, but I don't care. We'll win. Yay! We're so awesome at this.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's true. So split built and tune coded.
I didn't even realize that we won the last round.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm getting a redeem on my side. It causes me to make this noise.
Okay, there we go.
Just man.
That's one of the funniest things. One of the funniest things about like doing a co-stream where you're both streaming is when something happens that is only relevant on one side.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, I just have to make noises.
My cat is throwing babas and bungers at me.
battery!
As they do.
Ow!
Oh,
I
that's
got
right,
a
because
car
you probably
battery.
see my character going like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people are throwing things at me.
Yeah, like if
But you can't
also,
see them.
we haven't explained this. The reason why I am not fully animated on Melony's side is just we don't know. For some reason, it just
Yeah,
wouldn't.
for some reason, the virtual camera stuff wasn't working right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's sad. Oh
I guess
well.
all the PNG. Yeah. Anyone else wanting to jump in?
Yeah, come play with us.
Jump into the pool?
Mm-hmm. The water is very
Hell
grimy
yeah.
and full of salmon.
Mmm, tasty.
Mmm. Let's go. I like
Let's
how the roll
fucking do
on the
it.
roller is actually amazing in Salmon Run, except carbons. They can all split chum instantly by rolling, which is amazing in Glowflies, and Dynamo can roll over Cohawks.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, the carbon one's rough. The weak roller.
Yo, Duke! Hi, Duke! How you doing? 3D VTuber software my beloved. I fucking God, I hate 3D VTuber software so much. But I rely on
it.
it.
It definitely seems less user-friendly than VTube Studio.
Yeah.
I was
It
wish that
does.
VTube Studio would someday suddenly be like, we have 3D integration now. You can just use your 3D VTubers with me too. Oops! Oh my god, me and Polar did the same stupid thing. High five. Okay.
Oh god, help! Okay. What are you doing, Duke? Hey gang, can someone come revive me, please? I'm dead, you see. Thank you.
Problem.
Thank you for helping me in the 3D mines. I hope I was of assistance to you. If nothing else, at least it was a fun, miserable time trying to figure out 3D VTubing with you.
Oh, someone in your chat.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Duke, needed help setting up 3D VTuber, and I offered to help, and then we just like spent like 2 hours looking at every single 3D VTuber program and looking up tutorials, and they were all terrible tutorials and stuff.
Yeah,
Like
I very briefly looked into VC Face for my like VRM Mellow, but my hair was rendering inside out anyway, so I didn't try too hard. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to use a few too many programs to fix this. I go to sleep.
The rendering inside out thing shouldn't be. It sounds like it's just a normals issue.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be too hard to fix.
which is weird because like when it makes the thumbnail's correct and like it renders right in other programs, so I don't know why it's confused about it specifically in VC Face.
Yeah, it's
That's 3D for you, baby.
yeah, it's normals are only can only be an issue like in certain render styles, so that's probably just what it was.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a shark. That's right, Duke is a shark. Hey, by the way, I haven't said this yet. Anyone who doesn't follow Duke of Ash, you need to do that shit. You need to follow Duke of Ash on Twitch and also on everything else. He is super nice and extremely funny.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I believe you're streaming Minecraft later today, aren't you? When I have $1 trillion and starting my own VTuber tutorial YouTube channel where I call the shots, and then you'll find out that it's not that easy, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, like, God, VTube Studio is just so user-friendly compared to any of the 3D ones I've looked into, and, like, their menus are just a mess. There's just so many sub-menus and checkboxes and almost no explanation of what any of them mean.
How do you go in these again? Oh yeah. Kills you. Ah, I killed some. I feel good about that. Bunch of eggs over here.
Oh. No!
What?
Damn, they slapped me right off the... Ooh! Lightyear knows that Duke. I'm gonna have to look into it.
Hell yeah. Oh god. I should come save some people. Oh, I'm gonna die. Never mind. In my attempt to save you all, I died also.
No!
Hi, Cat. Thank you,
I
Cat.
can't reach any of you. Oh no! We made quota!
We make quota. It's fine. But there was only wave 2 though. Don't worry.
I excitedly jumped to my death.
I died a hero. I did AO Hell, who's also a dear friend and also deserves a shout out because she is also very, very nice and fun.
Don't let me down. Don't let me down.
Don't let me down.
Low tide. Don't let me down. You know that EDM track?
I'm thinking about what's it called? Electric Light Orchestra.
Oh.
But I'm not even sure if that's the lyrics. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. I think that's it. should die. Oh, you didn't. That's unfortunate. You should die. Oh, you did. That's nice of you. You should also die.
Get out of here, you. Oops.
Oh, I fucked up.
Hit the wrong button
God.
again.
I'm gonna die. I have to get.
I am
Oh, dang it. I killed someone. I feel good about that. Coral Queen, April 24th, 2024.
Hell yeah.
You can quote me on that.
You are hashtag cancelled. Queen is over party.
Who will cancel me? They're all too scared that I'll kill them next.
That's true. They are cancelled from this mortal plane.
That's right. That's fucking right. I am dying. Okay, I'm no longer dying. Thank you so much.
Everything's okay. We made quota. It's all gonna be good.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let me down.
Yay, we're awesome.
Yay.
Gang, are we the best? Yeah.
Gang, gang.
Wait, Girget said, I dropped my Kraken on top of a grate and insta-died. That's really funny. I hadn't thought about that the Kraken would also go through grades. That's really
Yeah. It shouldn't, though, because it's so big.
I know,
Well, I
you
guess
would
it's
think
still
it would
turning into ink in just the same way.
Yeah, I mean, it still applies to all the same mechanics and stuff.
Alas.
I think I've realized an important part of the Salmon Run strategy. What is it? Oh, multiplayer maps
What
and modes have been
secrets have
updated.
you realized?
Tell us, share your wisdom.
That's a good wisdom. All right.
I've taken a
Brilliant.
sippy.
With
I'm ready for
bombs.
more. Do you want to do more Salmon Run or do you want to do more Turf War again?
Oh, I'll do one more salmon run at least.
Okay. You have to know
I was
which
gonna
weapons.
say I'd like to get to the big guy, but I think that would take several more runs at least.
Yeah, well, it depends on. Like it's.
But does everyone have their own? Oh yeah, I guess everyone has
Yeah.
their own separate meter. I don't know if anyone has like an almost full meter,
Yeah.
but mine's at like 2/3 or something.
Same. I'd say it's like 3/5. You have to know which weapons have the easiest time doing which jobs, and then just do those jobs and trust your teammates to do theirs. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That is a
Anyone else
foolproof
want
strategy.
come in?
Strategy that definitely will not apply when you're playing with randos.
No, you have to trust the randos even.
Oh, you're right. You've helped me see the error of my ways. Thank you.
The power of rando friendship. Ha.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful.
I love when you're in the lobby with people who you decide to keep playing with are just randos, and then like you end up like squishing around with each other or jumping around with each other, or whatever. And it's like friendship. We've communicated.
That's like that's
If anyone
I
else
think
wants
the
to get
real
back
beauty.
in,
Jesus Christ.
we're gonna play with some kind of rando.
Okay. 99% of squids quit right before winning against Big Fish.
Oh, sorry, Bat, too late. You missed the countdown. We're gonna play with a rando.
You better hope you're at rando. It's your only chance.
That would be funny.
All right,
We're
everybody,
playing some complete
trust in the
fucking rando. Oh,
rando.
it's Battlecles.
It would be very good, funny if we just get the same person.
Rando is gonna carry.
That's true. Our rando
You can do this,
is
Maddie.
Maddie. Hi, Maddie. You're a member of the team now, and we love you.
Hell yeah.
Spatana Wiper.
MVP,
Okay.
frankly. Hi, Tide.
Oh, hi, Tide.
Come
Me when I
Tide.
greet my friend whose name is Tide.
Oh. Fish thick. Delicious. I never never landed like on top of the egg basket and just sat there for a sec before.
It's time to chill, you know?
That was an enjoyable experience.
Oh god, what am I doing? I always do that shit. I don't think about what I'm doing.
Look, it's exciting and a lot is happening.
That's true. That's life, I think.
It's true. Though not always is with the exciting part.
Well, I think as like an overall description, I think life can be described as exciting.
This is true. This is true.
And the less exciting moments are just there to make sure that you are prepared for the more exciting parts.
Damn.
I've been watching a lot of
Where's your
Bluey,
VTuber
so
self-help channel? Like VTuber affirmations.
you have a lot of subscribers.
Hell yeah.
People post good comments in your comment section.
That joke you made was very funny and everyone thought so.
Everybody bought your apology video.
Oh, oh. It was the one good apology video that has ever happened. And everyone forgives you for that thing you did.
You know the thing. Don't talk about it. Don't remind them.
Yeah, you
But
don't
you
even
know
have
you
to
did
worry
it.
about it anymore because you had made such a good apology.
Yes. Also, hi, Maz.
Low tide.
Low tide. I love you, Splatoon. You're so fun.
It's a good game.
It's such a good game.
It has so much going for it, like artistically and gameplay-wise. It's so good.
Oh, so look at the other one.
Fuck
Oh,
you,
no.
fly fish fluff.
I'll get it.
It
Okay.
should be a little more generous with the bomb aim, considering what an asshole that guy is.
I agree. It does feel just a little too rough.
Yeah. Especially since like it's one of the only ones where you know like you can only do it with a bomb.
Mm-hmm. Like, it would be good if they made it
Even
like...
though he's just out there in the open, you can't shoot him.
Right? I think it'd be good if they did like a thing like, yeah, you can shoot him with your gun, it just takes way longer, so doing it with the bomb
or
is
like
much
you have to shoot him
faster.
perfectly in the head or something,
Uh-huh.
so that you could at least like charge or kill him instead of him being arbitrarily invincible.
Oh, there's another one.
Hello.
We already got him.
No, no.
The fuck? Oh, wait, I gotta get up the tower. Is someone already up there? Oh, you're trying to get up there? I died! I got drizzled on.
Oh Jesus!
Oh god. Oh no. Oh god.
Where's everyone else? Where's everyone else?
Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay. Whew.
Quota,
The quota! The quota! I don't even have an egg. Oh god, we're fucked.
No!
Ah, dang it. Ah, well. Wanna go back to turn 4 now?
Yeah, that's a good idea, Saw. Saw says it should act like an ink vacuum, so it sucks in ink and, you know, you can't hurt with ink, but it means bombs have more leeway. That would be good. Glad two people take notes. Are you gonna give an excuse for why you can't just fucking kill it by shooting it?
No, I'm less of an overachiever now.
Pay cut.
But I did get my 600,
Oh.
so...
Yeah. Shiny
It's alright.
gotcha bomb. Alright, thank you very much for everyone joining us for Salmon Run.
Mm-hmm. Now get ready
And
to join us for
back to regular
more.
mode.
Yeah.
This one. Wait.
Oh. Just get my rewards
Oh, I
real
have to
quick.
leave the room. That's what's going on. Meow.
Oh, fuck. I shouldn't have done this right now. No, I have to fucking look at which item I want to keep.
Oh, thank you for the follow, Duke of Ash. We're not done,
Yeah.
Saw. We're going back to regular fight.
Okay, it wasn't much. It's fine. Goodness, I almost forgot to mention that we've got some new items in. Take a look, won't you? I guess. Nope. Later. I am getting close to the boss now. Maybe later. It must have been the rando's fault. You're right, Kira Cat.
Yeah.
I know we all, you know,
Rando.
we are not wrong for believing in Rando. We're wrong.
Yeah, they
Rando's
don't
wrong
believe in
for.
themselves enough, or us
That's
who believe
it.
in them.
Maybe Rendo didn't believe enough in us.
It's like they haven't even watched Gurren Lagann. Alright, I've created a multiplayer whatever the shit.
Yeah, and I'm joining.
And whoever wants to join can join.
Get in here, gang! For those who don't know, the pool is called GQ. 2 letters, both
Gentlemen's
capitalized.
Quarterly.
Whee!
Meanwhile, my baby's demanding milk.
Let's go.
Oh yeah.
Clone, if you could pin that message, that'd be good. Make sure you hold down when exiting Grisco instead of forward because this game is good. Oh yeah, that's very funny. You just accidentally walk back in. What's about to? Good. Clone, you're a good mod. Have I ever told you that? Okay, 4, thank you so much for subscribing.
Duh, 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 duh.
Dun, 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 dun. Let's go. Oops.
Booyah!
I threw a bomb in the water. That was strategic.
Oh yeah, I'm not as familiar with this map.
They got a charger.
Aqua 4 geeft het haar een sub voor de 552.
Okay, 4, thanks so much for the gift sub.
No!
Oh god. Oh, that was dumb. Oh, look at all this unpainted space. Thanks so much, Melony.
This is how
For
we're
your
gonna
contribution.
win in the end.
This is what's gonna get us the win, you know?
While they're busy with their stupid charger, just trying to play this like a shooting game.
We're playing
Gonna get
paint.
coverage. Yes. Fuck you.
Uh-oh. I love when you super jump to someone and then you see them die the moment that you pick them. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm about to die.
Here I go.
Well, I had a nice flight at least.
I got to go wee.
Yay! Oh, I died.
I got Tristan at least. Fuck you, Tristan.
Well, I got Thermogon, who also got me.
That is honorable.
I agree. Their their little title on their card is Krusty Krab. That's funny.
Oh, too many of them. Too many of them. Oh, that's very
Oh,
smart.
shit.
I think mine is crusty material. Or at least
Mine's
sometimes
probably
it's
something
that.
gay or trans or something.
Something entity.
Damn.
Wow, 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 wow.
Oh,
Chris,
what am I doing?
Thermodon.
Dude, despite my lackluster performance, we're totally winning this.
Hell yeah.
Oh, whoa. Oh god, no. They're pushing back.
No, 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 no.
Stop them.
I won't allow it, I won't allow it, I won't allow it, I won't allow it.
They mustn't beat us. Ooh, oh no, I think they beat us.
Let's see, let's see.
Okay. Yeah.
No!
Unfortunate. Oh well.
So close.
So close. We did well still.
Zombie guy.
Yeah, that's good. I'm proud of us.
Wiggly fingers. Yeah. Good hustle.
I was the #1 splatter sister. I'll
I
take
was
it.
the #1 overall splatter.
Nice job. That
I'm
means
here for
that
Mordor.
I helped you the most.
Fuck. I accidentally... We're matching.
No,
Wait, oh, I can
quick,
cancel.
leave.
I can cancel. No, the
good.
cancel option went away!
Quick, go into the fucking sleep mode.
Oh, sleep mode?
If it's taking this long, then you might not want to bother anymore, because then you like get the little. Because then the game's like, you're leaving matches in the middle of matches.
No!
We'll just have to watch you do a thing again.
No.
Who wants to do a turf war battle against me real quick? Come up here.
Why can't I cancel? Wah.
I don't know, because game is stinky sometimes.
Wah.
With friends.
I'm
Private
sure
battle?
there's some reasonable reason why it can't, but...
Let me just strike.
Meh.
Creative room.
Wait, I think I might have gotten one person from our group, though. A mouse.
Oh, is that
Because they
Muzz?
seemed to join me in like, the pre-battle group.
Yeah, Muzz probably like queued up to join the room.
So we got one friend. Alright, we're just gonna kick their ass real quick for glory and whatnot.
For the stars, let's go! Just kick their ass real quick. Kick their ass so good that the match is shorter than usual.
Yeah, it unprecedented. It just like calls it early.
Yeah. Let's do this one. Alright, Polar Stars, I hope you are very inexperienced in this game. I'm the 100% entity, that's my title, that's fun.
Excellent. Yeah, entity and material are definitely my favorite, like secondary ones.
And
there's many things you can combine to make them silly.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it. Zwei Minuten. I like this track that has like the violin part.
I love a violin. I love the way Splatoon uses violins.
Yeah.
Polar Stars? There we go.
This Platonic person
Yo,
is
we
crazy.
used the same card.
Ah, someone killed him though.
Wait, did we use the same card and therefore they got cancelled out or something? What just happened?
Same card?
Yeah, I'm doing a quick turf war match against someone.
Oh.
Don't screen cheat, by the way. Also, Kirkat's internet died. That's sad.
No. Hello,
Perfect.
everyone. Hello, the entire enemy team.
Now you can kick all of their asses at once.
I already dead.
Fuck yeah! Knew you could do it. It'd be very funny actually if you had like little screens of each other's gameplay also in the corner of our gameplay.
Oh yeah. Ooh, it is a pushing right at the end.
And also Subway servers. And also Subway servers. So cool. I like that you liked your own jokes so much that you made sure to say it in both of our chats.
I don't even get it.
Cause like, it's like the attention span thing. Of like
not familiar with this.
having
What is Subway
like when you're
servers?
talking about something, also playing Subway servers in the background for like your like YouTuber drama video or something like that. And like some
Oh, I
streamers will
see. It's
just
a
like
TikTok
they have their
thing.
own gameplay, they have their face, and they have Subway servers, stuff like that, you know.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
But what is Subway Surfers?
Oh, you don't know what Subway servers is?
No.
Cool and impressive. I love that for you. I'm not gonna explain. Unless you really want me to do that. But I think it's kind of just
I mean,
fun if you don't know.
Is it a mobile game?
Yeah, it's a mobile game. It's like an endless runner, basically.
I know what I need. Oh, I see.
That's all you need to know, really.
Yeah. All right. You still playing that Turf 4? I mean,
Yeah,
Table Turf?
Table Turf. Yeah, sorry, I'm being a little dumb and.
Car battery!
Oh, my head! I've been hit by a car battery. For context, that's what just happened.
No.
We got 4 more turns left.
You
If you
do
would be
it.
so kind as to wait for us. Also, I'm
Go.
totally just barely winning.
Hell yeah! They're yes. Meanwhile, my people look very sleepy.
Video game hard. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. Oh. I'm still winning
Got
though
this, you got
somehow.
this. Yeah.
I don't know for how much longer though.
Maybe someone in my chat can answer this. Okay, so see, when I try to buy this hat,
Damn it.
it says that it's like a switch out, but I don't know when I'm switching what the current one I have is. How would I check? I don't know if I want this special more than the one that I have. Oh, I'd have to go to my equipment. That's boo.
I think we're about to lose this one now. Because I can't place anything anymore, and my opponent still has a lot of space. Yeah, I'm losing now.
Can't do any specials.
I can now, but I don't know how much good it'll do me.
Never give up, never give in.
You're so right. Boom,
Not
and with
special,
that
my people
last
do,
move,
like,
I
main
have
skill.
lost, I assume. Yes. Bad. I lost badly, but I did rank up,
No.
so it's all good. Thank you for the match. GG.
Oh, Golix, that's right. They have the icon that means that you can wear it multiple ways nowadays.
Ow. How do I... Oh, you can't leave the room while you have your special going. That's kind of interesting.
While you have your special going?
Yeah, like your, the charge. When you're in the lobby and you're just painting stuff and then you get your special.
Oh. That's weird.
Yeah.
But I made a room.
Yes, I'm joining.
Oh,
I had to
yeah.
wait because I was doing my special, you see. Woo.
Anyone who want to join, Kira cut. Meow meow.
Meow, meow, meow. Let's go.
Looks, I thought it was the icon that meant that you have that piece of equipment but with a different skill and can buy it again to swap it out.
Okay, this time I'm gonna
motherfucking go.
focus. I'm gonna
Hell
win
yeah.
this time.
We're gonna wreck their shit. Kill him. Miku.
We got the Miku colors. We're gonna fucking win this. Let's go.
fucking whoop.
I'm stretched out. Thanks, Chad.
Paint, 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 paint.
Well, I died. But it held them at bay for a little bit, so that's something. I can't take a sippy right now. I have to focus.
spending a
I killed someone.
worryingly long time without running into anyone. Hell yeah.
That sounds nice.
I did get a lot of painting done.
Good. Hi,
My
hi.
portfolio.
Man, speaking of painting that you do, you know what webcomic I love?
Nah.
No? You don't?
I don't really go for webcomics, you know.
Well, I guess that's okay
If
because
it's so
this
good, why
webcomic
didn't you
has
put it in a book?
has also got some physical releases.
That's true.
Damn it. I'm talking about Sleepless Domain, by the way, which is Melony's webcomic, and it is fantastic, and it's gay, and it has other queer rep as well.
When I'm not being a cat in the corner, that's what I do.
And it's awesome, and I love it.
Thank you very much.
I can't wait to get the books finally.
Yeah, they did say that it should, the volume 2 should be in July, so they should be ahead of, like, with whatever schedule they set on the pre-order.
I died again.
I still need to finish a bunch of book plates.
Is it Tintin? That's Dutch in a webcomic, right? I already said what it was. And, no, actually, to both of those things. Tintin
Yeah,
is
wait, isn't-
French.
Yeah, tonton.
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 Also, in Dutch, he's called kuifje, which means...
It's called what?
Kuifje, it's a Dutch word. I
is
think it just
very
means, like... Is coif a hairstyle?
Oh, quaff?
Coif, that's it. He's called the
Interesting.
Dutch word for coif.
I wonder, is that what tonton means?
Nope.
They just saw his hair and decided to name him after it?
Yeah, I think so. Dit is Belgian. Oh, Belgian? I thought French. Well, oh, godverdomme, ik moet Nederlands praten. Sorry Melanie. Ik moet even Nederlands praten. Chat zegt dat ik Nederlands moet zijn. Excuses dat ik het nu pas zie. Begonnen? Volgens mij begonnen. Ik denk dat we begonnen hebben. Goed gedaan, team. Nice.
Ik verstehe nicht.
Dat is geen Nederlands. Oh,
Watashi wa karimasen.
oh don't worry. I already stopped. You will understand me now. Oh no, it clicked. Oh fuck. No, do not keep going. No.
Minus.
Shit. I can't. I have to see my... I'm surprised
Yeah, I
you
do
didn't...
think Tintin is in French. It's just a Belgian comic.
Yeah, because Belgian is Dutch and French, and also a bit of Belgian apparently, but I've never actually heard that.
There is a language that's just Belgian?
I think so. I've heard that that's the case. Legend says, you know?
It's mostly waffle based.
Flemish. Oh, they speak... Is it Flemish? Is that what that is?
Oh.
That makes sense.
Flemish is Belgian Dutch. I see. Does anyone want to fight me at Sable Turf?
No, wait. Flams, that's just Belgian Dutch. That's not the same as, like, actual... That's just, like... Oh, I mean, wait. That's, like, Flemish is just, like, Dutch a few steps to the left. I thought they also had, like, completely their own language. But I don't know, not to say
Maybe
that,
some
like...
people are like, it's different enough that it's its own language.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I'm not saying it shouldn't count as its own language. I mean, like, I thought they had something that was more different, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, then
that's
get
all.
in here, Lightyear. Let's fight.
Frogcast and all your viewers, hello! Thanks so much for the raid, welcome! I'm currently Coral Queen, but always Zoe. I'm an artist of various kinds, and I make my own models and layers and blah blah blah. And I am today playing a Splatoon with Melony and the viewers, which is y'all. I hope you guys had a very good stream. Did you do stream Batman? Because your raid message is Batman, which you are Batman.
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 Well, thank you very much for the follow, Frogcast.
Batman.
Ah, the Telltale Batman game. Nice. I've heard some good things about that, but I've never played it.
Which
I
game?
hope it was good. Batman mean. Batman is mean. Have you seen the Nolan movies?
He gets very
you guys-
rude in those.
Right? And
Car battery!
Oh, my head. I'm nitpicky, or like I'm against those movies, I guess. Cause
Not a fan.
no, well, they have good stuff in them, sure, but I do not like Batman in those movies. The way he's like, I'm Batman.
You don't like the very specific voice that he does just for those.
Yeah, just for that, and the concept of it is something that also happens in regular Batman, which is that Bruce Wayne will put on kind of a voice when he's Batman, but it's more so in the way that he talks rather than his actual voice, you know? And the fact that they're just like, we'll give him like a really shitty gravelly voice, that's one thing, but the fact that now anytime someone's like, oh man, I'm gonna do a Batman voice,
Yeah, that has become the Batman voice because it's so parodyable.
Batman talks like this. This is what Batman usually talks like.
you know, like that's...
I'm just Batman.
I'm just
a manly
Batman. I
man.
just have a deep voice. It's pretty normal for someone to just have a deep voice.
You know, it's like...
That's not how Batman sounds.
That's like what he
Hey,
sounds like in
I'm
every other
Batman.
media. He
What
does
is
not
up?
go.
Well, yeah, he doesn't sound like either. This is true.
I mean, like what I did after that is just my closest approximation, you know. But yeah, Kevin Conroy, of course, does the best Batman.
Batman.
I should join you. Also, someone said something about drop-ins, and I see the Cure Cat has a drop-ins thing. What is that? Does that
Wait,
mean that we don't
Cure
have to
Kit?
make a new... Wait, is it... Oh, you're in a cart one.
Yeah.
You're doing cards. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I just went to play it while you were doing the other match, but I forgot how long it would take.
I wasn't doing a match.
But what? I thought you were doing a match.
No, I left. I went into sleep mode.
God damn it! I thought you learned a lesson.
No.
Wait, so you've just been waiting this whole time too?
Well, yeah, I've just been talking about Batman.
God damn it!
It's not that I've been waiting. It's just that I forgot.
Okay.
I just didn't think
we
like, oh
only
yeah,
have
I
4
should join the
turns
lobby again. I was just talking about Batman. I was just like, man, I hate
that
that
is
voice. I hate that
understandable.
everybody's like, ha 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 ha. Isn't it so funny that Batman sounds like this? And I'm like, he doesn't.
Not under normal circumstances.
Under normal circumstances, he does not. Oh, she
Wait, I
forgore.
should've
I'm always
rotated that
forgoring.
shit. Hell yeah.
I'm the most forgoreful person in the world, I think.
I call it having cat brain. I have many cat brain moments.
Speaking of cats, do you know Kitten Burst?
Kitten burrows?
Kitten Burst, it's a game.
Hey, come on!
No.
I've been streaming it. It's amazing. I love it more than anything in the world.
Why do the kittens explode?
They don't. That's just what it's called. Well, I guess one
Wait, I
cat
think someone actually
statue.
mentioned it briefly once. It's like a sci-fi aesthetic thing.
It's a Y2K aesthetic. Y2K sci-fi. And it's really fucking good.
How, can you describe what the gameplay is like, or is it like so hard to describe even?
You are a virtual cat flying through cyberspace. You have to do like sort of time trial races and boss fights against like other programs. And it has super charming dialogue and characters. The player character, which is a cat, is called Happy, like Hapi. Happy.
Upbeat.
Happy. It is
You'll
so
let you
cute.
make you move.
So how do you do that drop-ins available thing? What does that mean?
I guess I mean you know you can join our lobby thing.
Well, yeah, but like any time.
Yeah, but I mean like you'll just be upstairs in that lobby with us, not like necessarily mid-fight of a card game.
Yeah, but you guys are doing. You have a card game lobby. Like I want to make like a regular lobby, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they are separate lobbies, I believe.
Yeah, but we're done. So
Yeah. Okay. I'll just wait for you
beat
to
me
do
by
it.
2.
Oh, damn, that's
How
good.
dare. Alright. I am leaving this lobby.
And yes, I am spreading the kitten burst propaganda because I love it, dude. I knew that
no,
I would
does
like
sound
it.
interesting.
I really fucking gotta show you it. I think
Alright,
you
I
would
made-
enjoy it because Huppy is the most delightful little creature of all time.
Creature.
Happy emoji when, ooh, a happy emote. That's actually
I need
That
to
is
make more
tempting.
emotes, along with the 50 other things I need to do for my channel.
same. I have so much things to do. Get in here, gang.
Gang gang. It's
See.
been available for a whole 3 seconds. What's your problem?
Come on. You guys are so fucking
Oh, mouse
lazy.
returns.
Hi, Muzz.
Squeak squeak.
That's one of my mods.
Oh yeah. Anyone else who wants to come in? Hell yeah. Let's do this thing.
I feel like the way to win with this brush is to like hold my controller in a different way so I can spam. Like really spam.
Oh, the shoulder button.
Mm-hmm. Okay, ready up. My bad, sorry. I was spamming.
Fast.
Real time.
Let's go. This time,
Hey, look at me.
gang.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman.
Batman, right? This is the Batman voice. I'm doing
This is what Batman sounds like. I should not be doing that. I have a little bit of a sore throat.
Oh yeah, that won't help.
I'll just do my own Batman voice.
dun,
Hey
dun,
gang, it's me, Batman. I love to not kill
I'm just a
people.
normal guy.
I love to not kill people,
In
and
the
I
end.
feel bad for Two-Face.
I really am just a normal guy when you think about it.
Yes.
Hello. I'm
Hi. It's me, Batman.
I'm just
You
a
might
little
recognize me from when I beat up all those people,
but it
and
was
I just
cool
died.
and helpful.
Hi. Die.
I'm Batman.
Damn it.
Hello.
It was I who died.
Hello, it's me, Batman. Hello.
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
It's me,
I'm your
Batman.
Batman.
Hello?
It's me, Batman.
Hello? Hello, I'm
It's the window
Batman. Can you please
Bat, bat, bat,
surrender?
Bat me little wings.
Oh, I died.
Oh no.
Hello, it's me, Batman. The Batman. I'm the world's most normal guy.
What's up, bro?
Oh god, I'm about to die. Yeah, I did. Crazy how I know those things.
I don't like when people die because I'm Batman. Well,
Oh, they're always throwing bombs and things at us.
I spotted 2 people.
Nice. Come on. Yes, yes, I did it. I
I was
killed
like, oh,
someone.
I distracted them though. They're looking the other way.
Yes, teamwork. We love it.
Hell yeah. Pincer
I killed someone else. And then I
There's so
died,
much
but I
pink
killed 2
over
people.
here. This is a really good color combo, by the way.
I love it's Miku.
Miku and Bubblegum.
Well, isn't it just Miku? Because Miku's like secondary color is this.
Pink?
We had this pink for like her hair
really.
ties and like the 01 on her arm and stuff.
That's more like a more red.
No, I feel like it's this color.
But even that, it's too small to count as like a secondary color on her.
What would you say is her secondary
small.
color then?
Gray.
Well, tertiary color then. It's on her.
Like if you were trying to invoke Miku for someone, I think you'd want this color and then you'd want gray with it. And then maybe black and then maybe a reddish pink.
I don't know. I look at this and I think about Miku.
I mean, you might always just be thinking about Miku, which is very valid.
I do always be thinking about Miku, that is true. I am actually known for that.
ABTM, always be thinking Miku.
Let's see. I've got some Mikus here. Okay, I do have a robot Miku that doesn't have that color at all. I guess just when I look at her color scheme, I don't really think about the black and gray as, not the gray at least, as like something that could be a secondary color. I think it's sort of like just like a background color.
It is gray. So like my Miku merch that I have, like I got underwater Miku. That's just teal and black. Got a ramen holder Miku.
Nice.
I wouldn't say there's a lot of iconic Mikus that have like pink as any more prominent. Oh shit! I forgot that I hit to keep going. Fuck.
Oh no!
Fuck shit.
Well,
shit,
who wants to do a table turf battle? I'll meet y'all up here.
To put my thing in sleep mode and I took.
It's all right.
And I fell out of my chair. Thank you for being very empathetic.
Fight me, someone.
Wait! I put my thing in sleep.
Did it not work? Were you too late?
Are you? No, I'm saying like you don't need to fight someone in
sorry.
sleep mode.
I see. And also Daya, hey, how you doing,
I also
bud?
injured
Thank you so
myself
much for the subscription.
So
You injured yourself?
I told you I fell out of my chair.
Sorry, when you leave your microphone, you're kind of hard to hear, so I guess I didn't interpret it correctly. Are you okay?
Yeah, I will be.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
All right.
Oh.
I'm creating a room.
Okay, I'm going to create a Miku.
That's
Well,
a different thing.
I ruined it. That's abstract, chat. It's an abstract Miku. Splatoon has card games? Splatoon does have card games. Splatoon has one card game called Table Turf, and it's very fun.
Yeah, it's a fun little bonus mode.
You can make your own decks and stuff. It's basically like its whole own other little game.
Yeah.
Dude, have you ever? Okay, you can say you can laugh at me for this. Have you ever played Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival?
No.
All right. Do you know that it's bad?
It's the thing that's like a board game, right?
Yeah, it's a board game where you need to have amiibos to play it, and also there's no mini games or anything. It's like almost entirely pure chance. Nothing interesting happens in it.
But you like it?
No. But it does have a minigame collection on the side. I don't know why it's on the side and didn't just make it a part of the main game. But one of those
weird.
minigames is like an island survival game, with a hexagon turn-based map structure. And I really like that game. I think it is very enjoyable, and I'm mad forever that they never did anything else with that. I need them to make that its own standalone game.
Yeah. Anyone else want to jump in?
Please do, gang.
Start.
The pool is GQ.
I get a whole day to say, here's the crew. There, I made a little Miku. It's very legible.
Oh, I will also try
sure.
making another one. Okay, let's see. God damn it. Okay, smile.
Mouse, you got it ready? Yep.
And then
And Zoe.
I and I. That's Miku. Yep, there she is.
Once your pizza arrives, have some fun with Miku.
Have some fun with Miku?
It's very cute. Just like
She's
me.
very cute. Have you met Hatsune Miku? Let's go.
Let's fuck them up. Who's the rando we get?
They're gonna carry the team or be dead weight. Taiga.
Taiga.
Heart.
Eye of the tiger.
Dude, I had a tiger, that means we're gonna win.
Yeah. Got the thrill of the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Here we fucking go.
We're gonna rise to the challenge of our fucking rivals.
Hell yeah. Ooh, very yes. Did you have a plan for exactly how long you want to stream? By the way, we did not talk about this.
No, we didn't. I think like a couple more matches, 2 or 3 or something.
Okay.
I might usually go a little bit longer, but like I said, I've had a day, so
Yeah.
and a bit of my throat hurts a little bit. I don't know why. So
You must rest.
I must rest. Yes,
Healthy. Healthy
Like-
girl.
I must be a healthy girl.
And yeah, I should take care of other things. Bleh.
The
But for
Plus,
later,
you've got,
I will
like,
be
another
streaming Mother
stream.
3.
yeah, because I was gonna say you have another stream today, so you should make sure you don't overdo it right now.
Yeah. But I got a few hours before then to get shit done.
Hell yeah. And to take it
Have we
easy
won
also
any
a little bit.
matches?
What did you say?
Have we won any matches?
I think we won our very first one and that was it.
God damn. I'm just realizing, like, things have not been going great in terms of win percentages.
Yeah. But
Oh my
I never let that
God,
get me
was
down.
it really only the first match? There must have been at least one other one.
No, I think there was actually. I think there was one other match where we went. Well, you know, that's
I swear my win percentage usually isn't this bad.
There was like there was like one where we went. Well, you know, like we have the moral high ground. We have the moral victory.
Yeah.
Really winning. You know, it's kind of like gross, and then we won, and we're like, yeah, fuck you, yes, you know, like.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so we
Okay,
won
we won at
two.
least 2. People are gonna be like, she really oversold her skills at Splatoon by saying that she's competent.
No. Listen, if you lost, you can just say it's because of me. It's fine.
Hell yeah.
I'll take the blame.
You're the queen of the gauntlet.
Yeah, and there's no gauntlets in this game, so.
You are wearing gauntlets in this game.
Well, yeah, but they're cosmetic. I'm not punching with them, that's the thing. Just because I'm wielding gauntlets doesn't mean I get good with every weapon I hold.
You need a special weapon that's like punching ink. That'd actually be pretty cool.
Yeah. I did at one point design like a Splatoon OC who used like ink fists.
Oh,
They had
hell
like
yeah.
little inkjet printer fists.
Heartful ink.
Yeah. I love Heartful
Wait.
Punch so much.
Ah.
Well, you don't know. Maybe we. Yeah, all right.
There was another one where I was like, yeah, I gained a lot of ground at the end. Oh, never mind. But they're all over our place.
That's all right. I
all
agree.
Tiger's fault.
There should be a punching weapon though.
Yeah,
would've
that'd be
been good.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Make it very like the stamper.
Yeah.
See, I'm #1 overall spotter in Turf Inker. Not my fault. Not my fault.
Not your fault.
Hashtag not my fault.
I'll take the blame. Hashtag I'll take the blame.
Stop. No, it's all Tiger's fault.
Oh, you're so right. Taiga, if you're in chat, fuck you.
No, it's okay. You know, Taiga, it's hard to know what you're doing.
Not everybody can be as cool and good as
We
us. It's all
forgive
right.
you, Taiga. We forgive you
We
for pulling
forgive
us
you.
down with your incompetence.
Mm-hmm. Get in, chat.
Anyone who wants to get in, come on in.
Yes, there is. Kira Cat.
Kira Cat, how about that? Ready to splat?
It's
Getting
Kira
good
Cat. I don't know. One more. Anyone else?
10, 9, 8.
Anyone
7,
who's
6.
joined before can also join, of course.
Yeah, anyone who gets back in, we'll just play the next few matches with you. We'll click to keep going.
Yeah,
Fuck
alright.
it.
Sure.
Who wants to be our little partner for the last few matches?
Who
We
wants
got
to be a
Kira
ride or
Cat.
die?
Yeah. I'll wait forever. For 1,000 summers.
There we
Mouse
go.
it is.
Let's go. We've got a cat and mouse game.
Meow, 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 meow.
I guess we've got 2 mice.
This is my artistic representation of those 2 planets from Outer Wilds.
Oh, that sounds
The
beautiful.
Sand.
I wish you could see it. Battle time!
Alright, fuckers. Game face.
Okay. Let's do this.
We got this.
I can't believe I keep losing even though I have the sickest fit.
It's not gonna happen anymore. I'm gonna win.
You're right.
We've got an edgy dark color to show that we've, reached a new level of our training.
That's right. Oh god.
Damn.
Oh, I killed someone and
Hey, you
then
took him
got
with you
killed.
though. I'm sorry to hear about your super dead Switch. My Steam Deck
Oh,
died
no.
and I need to see if it can be repaired.
Aw. That sucks.
Because I do love my Steam Deck.
Dude, they're like ganging up in the same spot.
That's very rude.
Tis.
I took someone down, damn it.
Okay, I got someone and I got killed.
Yeah, Weaver says it makes him mad that Nintendo can get away with selling games for $60. It is rough going from, like playing all these indie games on Steam, and then you go back to a Nintendo game. It's like, ow,
Yeah.
my money.
That's why I prefer to get Nintendo games that I'm not gonna play online through perfectly legal means.
Look, I have, or at least if it's like from an older console or whatever, like, I mean, Mother 3, obviously that one even doesn't have a localization. You have to fire that shit.
Pirate? I never said anything about pirating.
Yar hard?
I said no such thing.
Yar hard DDD?
Melony. I was
it's
merely
alright with
talking
me.
about acquiring video games through perfectly legal means.
I was saying just hypothetically, pirates, they can do what they want because pirates are free is the thing.
Oh, see, I see.
I'm not saying that you are a pirate.
Yes. Of course.
We're losing!
But what if we won instead? Imagine it and make it
Shit.
real.
Okay, I'm gonna manifest my destiny.
Hell yeah. Okay. we can still win this game. Oh, you just died. I'm warping to you. I'm gonna die. Yeah.
Oh my god, this fucking sucks.
Oh, this is not the round, gang.
I want to win one more before we're done.
That would be
But
fun.
if I just keep like matching us based on the wrong criteria or something. Based on my amazing player ranking for sure that I have.
Yeah, it's because you're too cool and based, I think.
Yeah, alas. We'll tell you. Hello, Lucknow. Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh my god.
Lucknow, you're not allowed to come in now and say how goes turf.
Not ideal.
It's illegal.
Why are all the fucking sweats on today? Yeah, it's because we're all trying too hard. Hey, I was the #1 Splatoon sister though, that's nice.
Hey, I was number 1 home basing.
Nice. Oh wait, I stopped.
keep going.
Too late.
Oh, you chose to not keep going. Shit!
Yeah.
Fuck!
Force of habit, sorry.
I can't exit out.
Oh, damn it. Hey, who wants to do a little turf war with me?
Okay, I slept.
Okay, alright, okay. Doo-doo-doo. Need to lean more, get 75 degrees forward. I don't wanna. That's bad for my back. I already have back problems. I'm not doing that. My back really just got scared when I got surgery, and now I have back problems.
Ugh. I've always had scoliosis, so
Oh.
I'm feeling you.
Yeah. At
Oh,
least.
updated. Okay, now it's gonna be the perfect maps for us to seize victory.
Oh, cool. If they updated, then I guess I should like leave and go back in. Because I didn't get a thing about that.
Huh.
I didn't.
Oh. You'll see what happens when you try to join me.
Yeah. No, I'm just not
Wait,
getting.
I don't know why
Oh,
they
well.
would have updated. It's only 354.
Yeah, it seems weird.
Maybe it got confused because of my going out and coming back in.
Maybe.
I might have just been confuzzled. Alright, who wants to come with us to Victory Land?
Come on in, gang.
Get on in here, Kira Cat. Meow, 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 meow.
Meow meow meow.
Who else?
I'll never understand the purpose of the copy machine.
Oh, the little robot.
Yeah.
I think it's just like to
It like
test
just
out.
shoots when you shoot.
I think it's like to test out your damage numbers and how much damage you can sustain.
Oh, I guess that you can sustain, yeah. But wait. I see. It's the one way to get splatted.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said it will throw bombs if you throw bombs. Well, yeah, and then what?
You can see how much it hurts. I guess.
Alright. Ready up, Zoe.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go!
We got 2 cats and 2 queens. Can't lose.
Oh, we do! Hell yeah, dude. The cats and the queens. That's a new band name.
Little boy blue and man in the moon.
Yeah. There we go.
Battle time, fuckers.
This is it. This is the match. Maybe I should have switched weapons.
I have no idea what this looks like on your end if I try to do this. Wait, where is it?
Whoa! Wow!
Does that read visually at all?
Yeah, we see it.
Excellent. I didn't know
That's-
how it would work with the, clipping
Uh-huh.
chroma key.
It looks awesome and cool and good. I love that. That
Yeah,
is
I
a
got that
very,
after
very
I had
good
my
toggle.
LASIK surgery. I have my laser eyes now.
Dude, that's so fucking awesome. I love that for you.
Also, because people kept spoilering during Final Fantasy VI, and so I needed a way to let them know that they were out of
Ah,
line.
yes. I just when I'm playing a game that has a heavy spoil potential, I just put really big on screen like first playthrough, don't spoil, and that tends to
Oh,
work.
yeah, people know that they're not supposed to, because it's usually regulars. It would just be like accidentally.
Yeah, but it's just
You
good
know,
to
they'd
have
be
that
like,
reminder, you know.
Oh, I can't believe you missed this thing that I'm now informing you of. Or like, oh, I can't wait for the next part where it gets really sad.
Uh-huh.
And
What? Oh. Dang it.
alas.
Well, at least we didn't lose that one.
I hope whoever disconnected is okay.
Yeah.
Oh, DC on the other team. That makes sense. Alright, press continue.
Wait, this is so
can.
funny. Someone
Keep
said
going.
Gauntlet Queen if she was a Yakuza. Wait, stop or keep going?
Keep going.
Keep going. Okay, yes, alright.
Yeah, we're all
Gauntlet
still
Queen.
connected.
Someone said Gauntlet Queen if she was a Yakuza villain. Bite this onions, Tomizawa-san. And I don't get it. And Muscle Flesh says, Space Junk, your references get more and more. She's not gonna get it. Because, yeah, I did not.
No.
I did not get that at all. Sorry.
Alas.
I mean, wait, no, isn't that a reference to... Wait, I think I do get it. That's Pop Team Epic, isn't it?
I
don't
thought
know
it
who-
was a Yakuza reference.
Well, I mean, maybe Pop Team Epic does it
both?
in reference to Pop Team to the Yakuza. I don't know. I don't know who Tomizawa-san is though.
Me either. Woo!
And you're not Japanese, so if you don't know, then who will?
What matters is we will soon know victory.
I got a kill.
You can fucking... Oh no! Ha 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 ha! Oh, wait, wait.
Camila Nyan, hello, thank you so much for the raid, welcome. I'm
Oh, congrats on the
definitely
raid.
doing a really good job at Splatoon. We both are, me and Melony Pipon.
Nothing but victories, baby!
Yes, definitely, 100% victories.
Yeah, for anyone who's just now joining us, we have 100% win rate, super pro gamer.
Yeah.
I don't know why I
Please.
said that with an inflection that made me sound like Ruby Road.
We're
Congrats.
100% super pro gamers.
We're so good at this.
Hell yeah.
We're the very best. This one. I'll go up to you.
Fuck you, charger person.
Damn it.
Damn it. Pinciard.
I'm very honest.
What? Oh. Did you and I ever talk about the final season of Ruby?
I think briefly, because yeah, you said that you did watch it, right?
Yeah.
Unlike
I thi-
me, who I could only watch the highlights. I finally.
Oh,
was
yeah, I
completely
remember.
quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they sure like to have girls kill themselves.
Yeah.
And it's
It's,
always a good thing.
It's interesting, huh? It's so weird to me. I'm so split about my opinion of that being the last season of Ruby now.
I feel like it's appropriate in terms of how much of a fucking mess.
Yes, it's very emblematic of the series, but something that also was sometimes good and fun to have ended like that now. It's a bit sad.
Yeah, obviously we have different opinions on Ruby as a property.
You just think it was bad all the way through?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does have some good things, but I do think it's a bad show made by incompetent people
Yeah,
that
overall.
often say extremely offensive things accidentally.
Yeah. But hey, we totally won this one.
I think so.
Dude, we totally won this one.
Yeah!
Hell yeah! Okay, now we quit.
I mean, do you want to end on that one?
I mean, I could go for one more, but
All right, let's go on one more.
okay, let's hope that let's hope that's not gonna be a catastrophic
yeah,
failure.
looping.
Which, dude, number one overall splatter, number one enemy is a base inker, and another one that I couldn't read, but was also number one. I'm so awesome.
Oh yeah.
Keep going.
I was number one, turf inker.
Fuck yeah.
I inked the turf. I changed my shoe. Winning strat. Talk about Ruby.
Talk about Ruby. That is kind of it, though. Maybe like find something
Apparently.
else to talk about, and then you just kind of go on autopilot. You know, it's all
Yeah,
instinct
get
at
in
that
the
point.
zone.
It's ultra instinct, dude.
My body remembers. Oh no, it's just the three of us now.
Oh no. No, we
can
got a
one
rando.
rando. They're gonna be the best rando.
They're gonna be the best rando of all time. Also, yeah, at least Blake and Yang finally kissed. At least we got that before it ended.
I don't think we should have. I was salty about that because I get mad when people try to pretend that was always their plan.
Oh no,
even though
definitely
like
not.
they've themselves directly contradicted the idea that it was always their plan.
Ruby was completely just made up on the spot every time.
Yeah. So it's like I should be happy for the gays that they weren't like queer baited all the way through, but I also just want them to like understand like no, this isn't good rep that was always like made for you. It's not, you can do better. You deserve better than this bullshit.
Yeah, I'm very much like it wasn't originally intended, and it could have been handled better, but I don't know. I still think it's better than if it hadn't happened, just because I like when there's
in
gay
a not
rap.
bitter sense, it's definitely better if it happens and didn't.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like a quality of what has occurred thing.
Exactly.
It would have been nice if they, used the 2 seasons before it to lead up to it a bit more than having like one scene together each time. But and what you gonna do? You got other things to do, like introduce stupid genies and shit.
Yeah.
You have to kill Penny at least 5 more times.
That's the fucking worst, dude.
We have so many pennies to kill. There's no time.
We have 0 pennies to spare.
Now we have so many pennies because we got to kill all of them.
Well, yeah, we can't spare any of them. We have to kill all of
Oh,
them.
I see. Spare as in to not kill.
Yes. It was a pun.
See. Oh,
Dude,
no.
I'm on my aim game right now, dude.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. See more Ruby things.
Oh, yes, of course. Who's your favorite character? Is it Oswald?
Sadly, it was Neo.
Oh.
It used to be Neo.
Good
And I
fucking
did
choice,
like Penny a
though,
lot,
but
so oops. Yeah, well, I'm so glad that Neo had the character growth of killing herself,
Yeah.
and everyone was really happy for her having killed herself.
That
So
was
that's
so
good.
That was
So
so
proud of
bad.
her.
It was so bad.
So proud of her suicide.
Oh right, I forgot Duke's birthday is today. Duke, if you're still there, happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Duke!
I wished him
right
happy
off
birthday
the
on
edge.
Twitter. I forgot when I saw him in chat because it was too hyped to focus on the game.
That's because we're doing so fucking good.
We are. Ow. Well,
But yeah, the only characters I like, they had killed themselves, so...
that's unfortunate.
Eddie made it happen because he was still mad at me. Oh, this one's gonna be close, I think.
No. Yeah, a little close, but I'm pretty sure we won. Fuck yeah! What a good one to end on. 2 wins in a row.
Yeah.
And I got #1 super jump spot.
Yum, yum, yum.
Hum, yum, yum, yum.
I got
Ooh, I'm
number 1
tasty
turf anchor,
tasty
home base
victory.
anchor, and enemy base anchor. I was
Fuck
inking all
yeah.
over the fucking
Hell
place.
yeah. Nice job, Melony.
Hell yeah, nice job, Gauntlet Queen.
Thank you. Nice job, chat.
Nice job, everyone. We won Splatoon.
We did it.
We won the Splat Wars.
We're the best. My freshness has raised.
But yeah, for on my end, I will be streaming more Mother 3 tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Excited about it. What do you got anything to announce or whatnot?
Well, on my end, I'm gonna go to bed soon.
Hell yeah.
Because
Hype for that.
yeah, because I live in a different time zone than Melanie does.
That's very true. But
this
what
is-
about like later in the week or whatnot?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because on Saturday at 11 my time, which is different from yours, I will be on the RARXD Twitch channel, RARXD being the VTuber team that I'm on, to play VR chat together. So a whole bunch of us are going to be hanging out in VR chat and just doing bits and goofs and talking and stuff, and that's going to
Hell
be really
yeah.
good. And you can see so many of the other streamers in my wonderful team that I'm in. I love them all. Where's my bet? Thank you so much for following. Wow. Yeah, that's the only other thing I've planned in this week. But if you do ! links in my chat, then you can find a little link to my website that has all of my socials and other things on there, so you can find all of everything about me there. But Melody, thank you so Melony, Jesus, thank you so much for playing with me today. I had so much fun.
Thank you for playing with me.
Yeah.
And I'll see my people in like 4 hours, and it's nice to meet other people. And hasta mañana. Wait, no, I can't say hasta mañana because it's not going to be tomorrow.
You have to say something else.
Hasta luego, gato. That works.
Oh shit. Nice. Yeah, could Mel? Oh yeah, you already gave a shout out. Very, very good. Thank you. I will be finding someone to raid, but Melony, I'll talk to you later. Thanks so much for your community as well for hanging out with us. Bye, Melony.
Yeah. Bye.
I'll message you later and stuff. Bye bye. Okay. Bye bye. Are you gonna hang up? I'm not gonna hang up. Did she hang up? She hung up. Okay. Hi, gang. Let's find us someone to raid. This is so fun. It's been a while since I did a thing where chat gets to join in. That's always a good time. Let's see. We will raid. Oh, of course, we're gonna raid Duke, because it's Duke's birthday. I hung up. I also hung up. Everybody hung up. This will be the raid message. Happy birthday to the birthday shark. So Duke is my friend. Duke is a shark. Duke is very cool. And Duke is celebrating his birthday by sharing his birthday cake with the Ender Dragon in Minecraft. Duke of Ash. There we go. Start raid. Whew, I'm tired. I am going to rest up so good, y'all. I'm gonna have a wonderful, wonderful sleep. Snore. Alright. So thank you guys so much for coming, and I will see you all hopefully on the in the chat on Saturday, and otherwise next week for more Kitten Burst, Signalis, and one other thing. Probably actually just Splatoon side order. We'll see. Bye, gang. See y'all later. Bye bye bye.